Hello, I'm Eagle Gardens 1 on Instagram, and this is fucking talking shit with Eagle, episode 564. I've got the Magic Weed Fairy and her gnome, otherwise Emerald Solar Shire. Hopefully, I got that all correctly. How you
That's
guys
right.
doing? You want to tell us
Like
how you're
that.
doing and where we can find you?
Yes, on Instagram. You can find us on Instagram. Yeah, that's the Magic Berry and her gnome on there. But our farm's name is Emerald Shire, so that's where we go by. My secret name. Coffee.
Mhm.
What time? Where are you? Are you in Michigan?
I am, and I have
Okay,
my coffee as well. It's the work
perfect.
blood of the life of it's the blood of the workforce, I should say. Uh,
All day.
so did you guys bring some cannabis to smoke this evening? I see some very nice looking cannabis floating above your head there, but is some of it ready to smoke this evening?
Yes,
Indeed. You can tell them.
we've got some ATF this evening. Um, so it's my favorite.
It stands for Alaskan Thunderfuck. It's pretty famous. It's like a old school land strain mix between, I think it's Afghani and Northern Lights, I think it is. Two old school land races. We've had these clones. We've been cloning this strain for almost 10 years, probably now. One of the first ones that we started with, and we're just not, we love it so much, we're not getting rid of
Mhm.
it.
Oh yeah.
That's awesome. I definitely like the name, that's for sure. Another fellow in camp or in the community popped a variation of it the other day, and we were talking about it. So
How
it's
funny,
nice that
yeah.
somebody's actually showing up with some flour. Nice.
Yeah, we've had this for like 12 years now. It was the second strain we ever grew, and we've had it ever since.
My favorite. Smells like cat pee. When we first
Yeah.
when we first started growing it, we thought our cat was getting in there and peeing, but and then we had, the cat passed away and the smell remained, and so we're like, oh, it was the plant. That was a long time ago, but yeah,
Hmm.
famous smell.
Well, nice. Well, what I'd like to do around here is get a chance to know some of the people around the cannabis community and kind of spotlight them and what they're doing around the community. And I think you guys were a perfect fit for this. So I always started off right from the get. Where did cannabis enter you guys' life? When did you cross paths with it? I'd like to hear both stories, whichever one
Okay.
would like to go first.
Well, like, well, I think I was 16 probably, and I had asthma and allergies super bad, and I was, this is funny, like the president of not the DARE program, but like a peer pressure group. So I was so anti everything, like, no, I will probably go to hell if I smoke, or what, I'll die, my spine will break in half, I won't be able to have babies, all that stuff they used to tell us, right? And so then, you kind of wise up and you're like, but that's not true. I found out my dad smoked, and I'm like, he's fine, you know? And so when my friends were like, come on, let's try it, I was like, all right, I'm gonna try it. If my dad, I was like basically mad at my dad. And so I tried it. And I kind of felt like just like better. My allergies kind of relieved. And I have eczema super bad where I stress itch also. So like my body just kind of calmed down and just kind of chilled out. And I remember being able to sleep for the first time really like in my whole life. I've always have a hard time sleeping, partly because of the asthma medicine that I used to have to take growing up. And then just like the rest that you get from smoking, I was just like, I'm never not smoking again. And that's kind of how me and Micah met. We were in high school,
Yeah.
And we were in drama club, and yeah, I'll let him pick. Well, that he probably did it before then, but
Yeah. I was 12. I grew up in a military family. So we moved around all the time. My dad was always like the commanding officer on the military bases, and so we lived in a glass house. But my oldest brother, I knew he was smoking marijuana. He was 7 years older than me. They had a band. I had two older brothers, and they were in a band. They kind of taught me how to play guitar, and like so we were spoiled little like rich kids on the military base, and so like there's nothing to do, and that's just what the older kids do. But it's you kept it hidden, and it was definitely not acceptable. Like our dad would have killed us. And anyways, when we moved from one base to another one, I ran into a group of kids at they had like on the military base, they had a youth hall that you could go to. They had pool tables set up, swimming pools, all that stuff. And there was always an adult that would, be there to supervise, make sure the kids aren't getting into stuff. And there was a group of kids playing Dungeons and Dragons, and my older brothers played Dungeons and Dragons. So I got with them, and so they were 15 to 17 years old. I was 12, so they were already into smoking marijuana. And then they asked me if I had, and I'm like, "Oh yeah, for sure, man," and hadn't, but got kind of introduced to it that way. And it took me like 3 separate times smoking marijuana until I finally got stoned. But that was it. It was the bee's knees, man. That was the rest of my life. That's kind of my introduction into it.
So that's kind of funny. I wouldn't have seen that coming, both the dare background or the military. I don't know why, but
Yeah.
so
Yeah.
was it? So how did it go from there? I mean, coming
Okay, I
from the
guess
dare
when so
side
when
of things.
I guess for me
I'm
with
sorry.
marijuana, um, it was like the Dare program was something that I remember going through, and it was the same time I started smoking weed. And my oldest brother had been smoking weed for years. Never in front of me, but I just knew he did it, and he was perfectly fine. So everything they were telling you was going to happen to you, I was watching it firsthand not happening. So I was like, you guys have been lying about everything, and stuff's awesome. So it has progressed from there. Being raised in the military, for me personally, I was always a civil servant, if you will. I became a fireman. Did that for a long stint of my life. During those times, I didn't smoke because you gotta be sharp and on the job. But then being a fireman's awesome, except that like 90% of what you do is medicals, not firefighting. So picking up dead bodies gets boring and really old real fast. And then dealing with the drug, like the heroin overdoses, is constant. There's a lot of PTSD involved. And then we had several other firefighters that got cancer that I serviced with for a long time. So these were, I mean, not my best friends, but these are comrades that I went to work with every single day. And then one of them lost their wife to a cancer that you can only get through the debris that's on our firefighter gear. So, 20 years ago, before we knew better than we do now in the fire service, we used to take our gear home with us. It would be in our cars. We just have it in the trunk. But the debris that's all over, the soot that's all over that gear is very carcinogenic. So it gets in your car, it's on everything. Your kids get in that car, it's all over them. Anyways, his wife got cancer that you can only get from that gear.
Specific, yeah.
Exactly. She was never on a fire scene with us. And it took her life. And what marijuana can help with that and aid with that specific cancer. And with PTSD, I mean, there's so many millions of different things now that marijuana has evolved. Just for us, like as a teenager, it was like I got stoned. It was awesome. It's just a good thing. But then as I got older and had issues with life, I guess, there's a lot of blessings that it has helped alleviate. And I've seen it impact thousands of people's lives. So that's kind of like the short story.
Yeah, it was like either continue and possibly get cancer or help people, with PTSD, or continue to get, PTSD and maybe cancer, or, make some medicine for people. And we were already kind of like the lead of the pack, at our school. We were always kind of a little bit ahead of people. We were like the oldest in our class or whatever. And we were together, early on, and kind of built our lives almost around it secretly anyway. Everyone kind of knew that we always, like, oh, we're at family dinner and we're going to go for a walk and we'll be back or whatever. Even our teachers at school, we won't tell you at school, but they would allow us to sneak away, it was old times.
Yeah, they knew what was going on, but
and
they didn't care.
So anyway, I don't know. So we've just kind of led people that way for a long time. And I think I don't know. I don't know if that makes sense or not, but yeah.
So so I'm guessing you guys met in high school. Is that what
Yeah.
I can put that?
Yeah, we've known each other since
together?
freshman year high school, and then we started dating my senior year. She's a year graduated ahead of me. And so
we met. I'll tell you the story. We met I saw him one day I was like the new girl. I'm from Detroit and I went to Catholic school, and so where we went was a public school and all white and very like culture shocky, like out in the boondocks where cows are and things. So anyway, and so I see this like redheaded gorgeousness with super long hair and like spiky boots and a trench coat, and I'm like, okay, I'm gonna marry this person. Like he is, and Wayne's World went through my head. I swear to God, I was like, oh yes, he will be mine. He will be mine. And he was with some girl, and I was like, she's out. But nothing happened. We didn't have any classes for a long time together, and then we had a lunch period together, and we both sat at like the nerd table.
It was not the nerd table, dude. Oh my God. It was the awesome table. It was where the cool kids sat.
No one would talk to me. I don't know why I was there, but so I overheard them talking about David Bowie, who's like my favorite music star, and Labyrinth, which is one of my favorite movies. It's like a Jim Henson movie with fairies. The fairy thing starts young. Anyway, and they were like, I love Labyrinth, right? And I was too embarrassed or shy to talk to them. And so I just went home and I tape recorded my soundtrack for Labyrinth that I had. And I brought it to school the next day, and I was like, hey, I heard you liked Labyrinth. I want to tape this for you. And I basically like threw it at him and ran away. And I don't know what he thought about that. But then we hung out at the lunch table, and then we
still have it.
And then we joined a drama class together, and we were in a play, and I had a crush on him and like his best friend. I still had a crush on him, but he liked my best friend, and he came to me and was like, I think that you should date my best friend. And I was like, all right, I'll date him then. I'm like, all right, fine. Then the thing didn't work out between him and my friend, and then my jerk of a boyfriend threw a Snapple bottle at my head, but he missed, so I was okay. But then Micah was like, I don't think you should date him anymore, and you should date me. And I was like, okay, that's cool with me. And that was 21 years ago.
That's right.
3 kids later, here we are,
Yeah.
saving lives. And they thought we couldn't do it.
Oh yeah, that's awesome. Congratulations, guys. Not too many people make it
Thanks.
work for that long. It's
Yep.
pretty
It's life.
awesome. I got to give you some props on the firefighter thing too, brother. That's a pretty special job. I know a few firefighters myself, and they do a hard job, man. It takes a big person to run into a fucking flaming building to save somebody, or just to put it out to save your thing. So, shout out to you, man. It takes much respect to you. A lot of times,
Thank
you
you.
guys are forced to pay for that equipment that you're talking about out of pocket. A lot of people don't know that, and that equipment's only good for so long, so many hours, and a lot of brave people like yourselves out of pocket that shit. And I don't think a lot of people actually realize, you know, how much effort and money and everything. I mean, and as far as that goes, man, volunteer or I'm not. Fireman isn't one of those hugely paying jobs. It doesn't. It isn't equal to what you guys do. That's for damn sure. Yeah. So
Most
much
firefighters,
respect to you, brother, for that.
Thank you.
most
I
firefighters
appreciate it.
have to have their own flexible business or work like snow plowing or something seasonal or like after hours or like subbing or something. Our county we used to live in is like one of the richest counties in Michigan, and it was a volunteer paid on call department. So no one's at the station, maybe like one officer is on call, and so whoever's closest to the scene just drives to from their house basically. And yeah, it's they don't get paid enough, and they don't get insurance. Nobody knows that. Like they might get insurance, but the family doesn't get insurance, and a lot of them, most of them live on state help, and and then if they get cancer, there's really no help for like there is, but most of the people who get cancer are not firefighters anymore. Like something happened, it's not gonna here, he's not a firefighter anymore, so and there would be nothing done, so it's and suicide, one of the reasons we do what we do is when he became a firefighter, this is something that also they don't know. They kind of isolate the firefighters from their family, and they're like, don't tell your family what's happening. First of all, it's kind of like HIPAA law, you're not supposed to, but also don't tell them because they can't handle it, and that puts them kind of alone without the support that they need, and then they're supposed to rely on the other firefighters, to be their support. But they're all carrying the same thing, and they're kind of like in this dreamland. They don't really know that they're in a PTSD like trauma state, or they might never know if they stay on and they're getting those good, endorphins filled with the good things that happen on the fire department. And so it's like a secret thing they're carrying, and that's why suicide is like number 2 or number 3 cause of death of firefighters. So that was one of the things when he joined. It was like I joined a firefighter wife group and kind of helped start this group, and it was kind of the same thing through all the wives. It was like they see this change. It's really hard on their husbands, and they don't know what to do, and they're no one's around to help. And cannabis can really help, and it's totally looked down upon, which is unfortunate. And then if something does happen, it's like one of the few medicines that can help them. And so we try to break the stigma of talking about depression, talking about PTSD, getting RSO in front of cancer patients. Yeah, that's what I have to say about that.
Yeah, one thing when I left the fire department, it was like 6 months after I left the fire department, my fire chief had contacted me. just wanted to touch base, see how things were going for me. We worked together for several years. I just thought it was a casual call, but he had some very specific questions for me, and it was nothing that I was aware of. While I used to be a training officer, so as a firefighter, when the new recruits came in, I was the one that trained them because I had been on the fire department for so long. It was now my new job. But I never knew this end of it. But his questions were based on how is your mind doing? Are you having bad dreams? How is your marriage doing? Like basically seeing, because a lot of firefighters after they leave the fire department, like they start to self-destruct, or the PTSD kicks in. While you are a firefighter, it's like a dream. It's just constantly happening. Everything's great. Sometimes it's a bad call, sometimes it's a good call, but it's just all happening. And we are trained so well that everything we're doing is just muscle memory based on our training. But then so you really don't have a chance to really think about it. And then when you're at the station with the guys after the call, you joke about it. And it's just kind of the way you deal with it. And then you don't tell your wife about what's going on, or your spouse, because if they knew the reality of the dangers you are in all the time, there's no way they would want you going out there. And you don't want your spouse to be scared every time you go out that door. So anyways, when it ended, I was perfectly fine. Like, I love being in the fire department. There was really no big deal. I was getting tired of certain things, and we moved. So it was like, okay, I'm resigning. But then it was like 6 months later that I really started having bad dreams. The PTSD all started kicking in. And the reality of like those visions don't go away. The things we saw that firemen, any servicemen of any kind, EMTs, paramedics, military, anyone, the things that they see, a human brain's not meant to see that stuff. It really isn't. And you see it on TV and it's one thing, but when it's like in front of your face, when it's happening, it's kind of like a dream, and it's kind of, some things are funny. Like I love horror films, and there's definitely times that we were on scenes and we laughed at certain things, not in front of the person, but like, oh my god, dude, did you see that? But then the end of it, at the end of the day, years later, it's like, oh my god, that's really messed up, and why can't I get rid of it or shed it? So I ended up getting help, but that's why my chief reached out to me. So pretty much everyone who ever resigns from the fire department, after about 6 months or so, their chief is supposed to give them a call and reach out to them and be like, hey man, how's everything going? Because the standard is we aren't okay. So it's for me personally, marijuana has saved our life. And I love the way the laws are here in Michigan. We're able to grow medical marijuana, provide for many different patients for many different reasons. And like that wasn't possible. And so I'm living in a dream world right now. And I just hope it continues, and yeah.
I'm freezing. Can I turn off the air conditioner?
Okay.
This is our trailer that we've repurposed into like a grow and trim and drying station. So we're pretty proud of that. We're also kind of like globally conscious. So that's the thing with the solar power, the solar, Shire. We have solar panels too, which is pretty cool. It's still the air.
Mhm.
But yeah, it's
So
heavy
before we
stuff.
go any further there, I'm curious to know what's hanging above your head there. What am I looking at?
This is some Blue Dream, and then this is ATF, and then behind that we've got Chem Valley Kush. The way we grow, basically we harvest the plant every day, and so we've got everything from a couple of clones And then every 2 weeks, our plants get, you know, from one stage to the next. So they go 10 weeks in veg, then 8 weeks in flower to 9 weeks, and then get cut down. So every day we get one cut down. So we spend about 3 hours of the day doing prep trim, breaking it down, getting it hung up. It hangs for about a week. Then we trim it after that, hand trim it, and then it goes into jars to cure for another week before it's ready for consumption. And then all our, we do all the edibles, we do every single thing, full extractions, butane extractions, hashes. So half of our business, I mean, I guess we legally can't call it that currently, but half of the donations that we're able to receive come from our extracts, like the trim, the byproduct, and then we process it and make it into a lot of different things. I mean, we've had patients that are 7-year-old girls. There was a girl that had epileptic seizures, and like her brain was like the size of like a 4-year-old, and they said she wouldn't make it to be a teenager. She's still alive and perfectly fine today. And that, I mean, I think she's 17 or 18 now. And we can make a product that doesn't get you high, but it stops that type of seizures. Now, I didn't invent that. I just we learned how to make the product that works for her because someone else had already done the research. So the pioneers that have figured this out and have been shut down since the 70s by our government have let millions of people die that don't need to die. That girl was going to die. There was nothing medicine could do for her, period. And all she has to do is take like a little rice-sized piece of Simpson oil in her food, and it's not even you can't even get high from it, and she doesn't have seizures anymore. But she was getting 4 to 5 like grand mal seizures every day. So when you have a grand mal seizure, your brain is starved of oxygen for like an hour or two. So she was basically brain dead, or going to become brain dead and die. But now that she doesn't have grand mal seizures, she's perfectly fine, and like no surgery can fix that. I don't understand how it works. It just does. So,
hey, you wish there should be more research by now. We thought when we started caregiving,
yeah,
we were doing it for for specifically for cancer to make ourselves.
Yeah.
We were like for sure by 2022, is that the year now, that there would be more research.
Yeah.
But so we just do the best we can. We grow our favorite strains that we think work effectively and that have the highest medicinal qualities. Like our Blue Dream, this one is a 1-to-1, like a CBD to THC. So that helps, balance it. So if, like, for example, if you don't like the psychoactive effect, that's a good strain for you. Or like the ATF is one of our famous, I guess that's an indica. Is that one an indica? I always get this confused because it seems like it's the
sativa.
opposite. Yeah.
It grows like an indica, but it is a heavy sativa. It's like almost it's a landrace. There's only 7 landraces, and it's one of them. So its genetic is pure. But it grows like a heavy indica. So it grows fast. Like we can harvest it at like 6-7 weeks and it's full. There was a study done with it at UCLA where they grew it for 24 months and it kept flowering. So the bud just got taller and taller and taller and taller and taller. But then what ended up happening was at 23 months. At 23 months, the lower buds started to die out. So it was going to rot, whatever. So basically, it doesn't have any ruderalis genetics in it, but it kind of is like an auto flowering, and it just continues to flower. It's perfect for us for indoor growing. But it makes really, really dense buds. You got to be careful with humidity, and you got to be careful with powder and mildew. But as long as you do the preventative maintenance, it's not an issue.
Want to see her?
See what? The ATF?
Yeah.
I think our camera's not that good to see all the
Too dark.
trichomes and everything, but back in the heyday, like in 2010 when we started, we were able to work with there was a dispensary at Home of Medicine out in Ann Arbor, and they worked with Iron Labs, and so did we, and which was like based with U of M. So they had a lot of patients
Back then.
back then that were able to use our product, and then they were able to do like not like research, but basic studies on them. These people volunteered. They would fill out forms and send if things were helping them and whatnot. And there were so many people that either went into remission for certain kinds of cancers or were alleviated with rheumatoid arthritis. We can make salves that you can just put on your skin, and it won't reverse rheumatoid arthritis, but it will stop the cells from continuing to grow and make the deformation. So I don't know. It's kind of a miracle. It's like the snake oil of the Wild Wild West. It can pretty much cure everything, right?
Feels like it sometimes.
Yep.
Oh, I'm a believer. I'm definitely a believer. As far as that research you were talking about earlier, I think that's being very much delayed by recreational cannabis.
Yeah.
To be
Yeah, just
honest
less areas.
with you. Funding is driven by numbers, and unfortunately, you guys probably seen it as well as I did here in Michigan. As soon as recreational cannabis went through, a lot of the people that had cards were like, I don't need it anymore. I can grow 12 just like I did before. I can carry just as much, but there's protections behind that card as well as driving interest in funding. You know what I mean?
Right.
Research that needs to be done, and
Right.
it's kind of sad the impact that recreational cannabis has had on medical cannabis, because that's where my fight stands. To be honest with you, I'm right there
Exactly.
with you. So
like we literally are trying to help people, and with our medical patients and our cancer patients, the donations that we get from everyone else allows us to give them their medicine for free. I could not personally make money on someone dying. And if you have cancer and you're dying and your chemo, these organizations made you have the diseases that you have, and now they're going to bank on your trying to fix you. It makes me want to vomit. And if our product helps, which we know for a fact it does, have it for free. And everyone else who just wants to get stoned can make donations and enjoy it. And that allows us to do the work we do to give something to a person for free. When we had a person with stage 5 lung cancer, and this was my first introduction with someone with cancer, who when I met him, they had given him I met him and he only had 3 or 4 months left to live, and he was in intense pain. So he just wanted to not be in pain. So he was taking Stimson oil, and at the time they had said if you can consume a gram a day, that's what's proven to fight cancer. And
that was all they knew at the time. That was it.
Yes, and he was doing chemo. He was a very, very ill man, but he couldn't sleep at night because of the chemo, and he couldn't eat food. Well, if you can't sleep and you can't eat, you're gonna die. Your body can't regenerate no matter what they're doing to you. So basically, chemo is like a reset on your system. It just basically takes everything, fries it, and basically it's like when your computer's not working, you just push the power button and turn it off or unplug it and plug it back in. You hope it restarts. That's kind of what they're hoping happens. But if you can't sleep and eat and regenerate, you're screwed. And so anyways, it probably took him about a month to get up to eating a gram a day. But he would eat it in brownies, and then I gave it to him in a syringe form, where he was able just to squirt a little bit in whatever he was eating. So if he was eating spaghetti, he just put a little bit in it and eat it. He was better. He lived another 3.5 years. after that. I mean, to the point where it was, 6, 7 months later, he was outside mowing his lawn. He was living a normal life. He went into remission. So he went from stage 5 lung cancer, where he had one lung collapsed and the other one had a fist-sized mass in it. So both lungs were working. The lump was gone. It was remission, but he was not cured. He still had it in his blood system. And then they tried a new drug on him, a different kind of chemo, thinking that it would eradicate it out of his blood system, and he died that night. But either way,
And
so
they
I
didn't
met
want
him.
him taking any R. So they were like, you can't have chemo
Oh yeah,
if we find out you're taking cannabis. And so he would, poor guy, would like stop
taking it
like
for
a
his
couple
blood
weeks
tests.
before he would go to the doctor so that he would.
Yep.
So he like they were trying to make him choose,
Yeah.
And
Yeah. When I first talked to him, I was like, "You need to talk to your doctor, dude. Because I'm not a doctor, but this is going to be able to help you eat food because it's going to give you the munchies. It's going to help you sleep because it's going to knock out." And that's what it did for him. So the chemo was working and probably helping him, but the fact that he couldn't sleep or eat, it wasn't. So did the RSO cure his cancer? I don't know, but I do know it gave him the munchies. He was able to eat full meals and it made him sleep at night. So I think the combination of everything is really where it's at. And I think most doctors know that. And I know U of M in particular with Iron Laboratories they have done a lot of research in it. It's just not federal. Yeah, so within the state, the education's there, and that's why the state is backing it. And it is happening. So I think everything's in the right direction, hopefully. But what's happening with recreational is where it's wrong, because you've got these big companies coming in with all this money, and they just want to own an industry. They don't give a shit about people. They don't care at all. They can't get products sold.
some of them, the ones in the MCMA.
Yeah, I can't say it about it. Yeah, obviously I don't know everyone, but the sheer fact that they just want there to be no medical caregivers, the fact that Big Pharma wants to own it and operate it, and they're pumping in billions of dollars to own it when it's already owned, it's already happening. Let us work. Like that's really what we need to do. Give us the rights, which we are. Like we're in the process of getting a microgrow because we know for a fact doing what we're doing medically, that it's getting pushed out, which sucks. But
Yeah.
that's kind of what's happening.
Just have a big fight.
Exactly. And I didn't get the money to take stuff to court. But someone does, and those people are they're doing it. So like what can we do? I guess as an organization, as a group of people, we can get together. But yeah, the recreational licensing boards and what MCMA what they're doing is just.
Do you know about the
ownership.
MCMA?
I know exactly what you're talking about. I'm definitely on the fuck the MCMA side of things. So
Yeah.
Exactly. But you can do good things, but like for us, we have a friend who is working on getting licensing, and they have to get $3.5 million to be able to do what they want to do. And it's a year-long process. I mean, that's intense. Are you kidding me? Like, I started growing in a closet. With I had $2,500. We went and got 2 lights. We did 12 plants. I made $4,000 off of it, and then I bought 2 more lights and another system to do 24 plants, and we made like $8-10 off of that. And I bought more lights. I just kept expanding it. So I've built it to this. So why can't I just keep building it? How do I make the jump from what we're doing with 72 plants up to having to have 1,000 to 1,500 plants and the infrastructure for that? It's just unrealistic, so that's why a lot of these companies are failing. I mean, they're the recreational license. Like if you're flower gets tested and it fails, you're allowed to have it back, and then you're allowed to radiate it. You can do multiple different things and send it back and see if it passes again. So it already failed for mold, so you get it back and then you radiate it, just get rid of all the mold, and then send it back and it passes. Yeah, okay, it does pass. You're right, but that's not medicine. That's not good for people. That's just bad. Like, and if you, I don't know, those problems can be like avoided with a little preventative maintenance. And so you got this $1 billion company and you can't get a product that doesn't have mold in it. I don't get it, but and then they're trying to shut people like us, they're trying to shut down the medical program. Like, man, just let the medical program be. Just like, there's liquor companies and then there's micro grows or like microbrews. If you can make it, why do you have to be the Jack Daniels if you can be a Bell's, like an Oberon Bell's or something?
Yeah, it's a sad situation. It really is. There's plenty of room, and I think the people want more of a caregiver type or private farm sales, I guess. That's what they're looking for. I don't think they want the big industrial cannabis shoved down their throat. And that's one of the things I'm kind of saying here is, you know, once we start tying, because there's, how can you say, we can't rightfully say that the Alaskan thunderfuck isn't good medicine, but I also enjoy it on the recreational side of things. You know what I'm saying? There's no, it's all kind of individual. But when recreational comes through and they're putting, again, I know you guys love this strain, but it was brought up in the example. Alaskan Thunderfuck, once it's on, t-shirts and it's being pushed and advertised, aren't we kind of going back to where we're right now with the pharmaceutical drugs, where we've got Pilsner and the doctors kind of going, all right, here you go. This is what's being pushed. Didn't you see the commercial? You're supposed to ask for it, right?
Right.
Yeah.
So I don't know. That's the part that I think once it gets to that point, that big money is going to drive me and you out of the picture totally, unless we can step up in this gray area right now. And it's a fight. It's a fight to what everything they want us to do. It's a tough situation. It really is.
We went to Lansing. I don't know if you went to Lansing, kind of in the spring or the summer, maybe, when they were trying to sneak in and basically buy the politicians and twist what the caregivers are doing. And they're basically running a campaign saying that caregivers grow unsafe cannabis, and that patients deserve, they had this billboard, patients deserve to know what's in their medicine or whatever. It's a pretty bold assumption to say that caregivers aren't getting tested. And
And
it
then
really
they
aggravates
should
me.
have to tell us how many times that shit we bought in the store was radiated.
Right.
Just like you
How about
guys
the
were
first
talking
test?
about. That should be on their label. This was only radiated twice before it made it to
Right.
your package. But don't
Right.
buy from your caregiver because it's poison.
Right.
Yeah.
But I have nothing against dispensaries. Like, it should be, like when it first, when everything first became legal and caregivers could get their overage to dispensaries, and they had medical, medical side. I don't understand how where are these people getting their medical cannabis from? You're not getting it from a dispensary because they cannot pass. I don't know where you can get medical marijuana from a dispensary. The testing is so low. Recreational is like 100,000 like parts per million, say, or whatever it is, per whatever, and medical is like 10,000. So that's a huge difference. And this is why, because dispensaries are forced, because it's so expensive to have one, they're forced to grow factory style, with tons and tons and tons of plants shoved in a thing, factory style. And that takes the soul out of the plant. You can't get in there and look at every single plant and the
Yeah.
plants can't talk to you.
One bad apple in the whole.
Right.
Like you can control that with pesticides and all kinds of different controls, but that's not medicine. That's you getting a crop to finish. That's like there's cows in a field that get to roam and eat grass and live a good life before slaughter, and then there's cows that are fed through like tubes, and like they literally live and they don't walk their entire lives. So there's a lot of different ways to produce a crop here, but there's
and people want different things. If you want recreational, and you're like, there's lots of different grocery stores. Like there's organic farmer stands. There's corn farmers who grow to feed cows or to feed people. Like there's like you said, there's plenty for all, and there shouldn't be such like hate and like backstabbing and this like secret mission, because it's irresponsible. It's going to kill people, and that's what.
What it is you got companies that pay billions of dollars to get into this industry, right? And rightfully so, they are pissed off because we did not pay $1 billion, and we are still able to turn a profit if we're allowed to do what we're doing. Well, that's not fair for them. Well, it's not our fault. You don't know how to grow a good product. Like, it is not easy. A lot of people think you just put it in dirt or you do hydro, you just follow the instructions, and you know what? Some of those things work, but give it 3 or 4 harvests and then let's talk. Because you may do perfect your first 1 or 2, but something's gonna happen. You're gonna fail, and that's you try, fail, and adjust. And those of us who've done that enough times to figure it out, that's priceless, and that's that they don't have it and they're jealous and they paid billions for it, and so their only way to win is to sue you and force you to not do it, so that way the world only has their product because that's all that's available. That's what people will use, and they know it. So,
and they're not only trying to take away caregivers' rights when we are talking about this. They're also trying to get rid of just regular, everyday citizens can grow your 12 plants right now, right? They don't want that to happen either. They don't want grandma to be able to grow their own medicine, which is awful, I think, or, whatever. Ugh,
yeah,
I could go on.
Well, you can, and I'm right there with you. And I've got to ask you firsthand, as somebody that has suffered from PTSD, and I got to tell you, brother, I fully support firemen that want to indulge in cannabis, any of the frontliners, because we both know, because I do know a lot of firemen. My town is actually the fighter capital of, I guess, Michigan. The firefighter memorials here, with the parades are here.
Okay.
So,
I know where you're at.
Yep, you know where I'm at. So I got a lot of respect, man. A lot them frontliners, it's hard for them to unwind at the end of the night. One way or another, it's alcohol, they self-medicate on other things in some cases. Why shouldn't it just be cannabis, the healthiest of all the choices?
Exactly.
And as you know, as I know, these calls that you guys are called on are in an instant. Sometimes as soon as you guys get home, you know what I mean? And if you're, in that state of trying to recoup from the last one, it's, you know what I mean? Cannabis. How many of us have ever been pulled over? You know what I mean? Smoked, either smoking or just smoked.
Yeah.
And see them lights, and they're like, okay, I can do anything right now. I've totally been shocked right out of my buzz. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So I think you could handle yourself quite fine in an emergency situation or whatever. And I think that would be the best option. But what I'm asking you here is kind of what you're talking about, the growth side of things. How medicinal, therapeutic has growing cannabis been for you in direct relation to the PTSD?
Oh
It's
man.
I find,
Yeah.
isn't it every bit as good as using the cannabis itself? Why
It's
would we
better.
be taking that part of the medicine out of it?
It's
Pardon me?
better. So we do everything 100% organic. So our hands are in the soil. We do multiple soil changes. Like that's how we evolve. Um, we don't use any nutrients until they're like in week 4 or 5 of flower because the soil changes add the new environment each time. We use the mycorrhizal layers are like our key. The connection between the rhizosphere and the root systems and the plants. Um, there's a lot I learned about myself and the connection to this earth with that, and it's you can't. It's not going to make sense to most people, but um, there is, the plant is nothing but osmosis. It just takes water up through its system, but the connection between the rhizosphere and the roots in the plant telling it what it needs and it being able to communicate to the bacteria and everything what it needs to do to break down the right amount of nitrogen. Like our soil has got like 6,000 parts of per million of nitrogen in it. That would kill every plant, except it's not available to the plant yet because the rhizosphere has not broken it down yet. So like when we're done with our soil for our indoor grows, we use it for like another 2 years, but not with our marijuana plants. It goes into our gardens outside into compost because once it goes outside to break down the root system, it's gonna have like the outdoor bugs and life in it. But it's awesome for our garden, and we'll use that stuff for years.
And most people could probably use that soil, but we just don't want you with the, like medical.
Well, yeah, I can't
side
bring
of
that
things.
back inside, properly. I mean, you can you can definitely take that soil and add different compounds to it that'll help break it down and like sterilize it, if you will. But
We don't have that.
and it's not worth the chance. I mean, you get a batch of powdery mildew. For us, we throw those plants out. I don't mess with it. It's gone. Because I can't, because we have all of our tested. Can't have a failed test. The test cost me $550. So we've been testing since 2010, multiple different laboratories, and I don't know. We don't mess around with that stuff.
And on top of it, speaking of like the goodness that comes from the therapeuticness of growing, that's kind of one of our dreams is to have, well, we do have this, but to have more people come in and be able to put their hands in the soil of vegetable gardens, and be able to grow your own vegetables and kind of like a co-op, type deal where, you can hopefully things can change a little bit, but even help with growing cannabis, but you're not, technically is supposed to, let that happen. I'm sure things will change. I have a feeling that everything's going to go federal, the next year or two, so things will happen rapidly. But there's huge therapy in growing and getting your hands in nature, and back into that whole food. It's basically organic food. On top of that, it's organic soil that we use, we grow in on top of it, and we don't use like pesticides or anything. So you could literally, we eat our carrots right out of it. You know what I mean? Pretty awesome. And hopefully too, also have like a pottery. I want to have pottery and art, and have like a forest of fairy stuff to walk through to, get people back in nature and, just it's like
to relax
the rat race out there. Yeah.
Exactly. We've got a bunch of different gardens out here, so like basically we want to eventually set up once we get the micro grow licensing is like she said, a place where people can come and like not just buy weed and get stoned. It's an experience. Like you can have a section of garden, you can come work. It'll be a CSA, a community shared agriculture program. Like out here we do chickens and turkeys. We're not 100% off the grid, but we're as damn close as we can be. Me and my boys, we hunt for our food, we raise animals. we just live life. We tried to that. I lived a busy life being a fireman, having my asphalt company. Always, chasing that dollar, man. And it owning an asphalt company, that stuff was gonna kill me. The toxins that, I mean, God bless those people that work in the asphalt industry, but they don't last long, or they end up very ill if they're in it for a long period of time. I just started seeing guys that we were working with that were getting skin cancer. I was like, this isn't the business I want to be in. We made great money, but it's not the business I wanted to be in. And then as a fireman, that's what I did. Like on my days off, was we had our asphalt company, and then the days I was working on call, I had my crews, and they would work all day long. So like my days off, I would go out and go all the jobs. And then we started growing weed on the side, and it slowly was like making more money. Like the more I grew the asphalt company, it didn't matter, because if I had another $4,000 worth of work, I had to hire 3 more guys to do the work. So it was just, there was like the equilibrium of making more money was not there. It's like, this is ridiculous. Yeah.
And we never seen him. We had 2 babies at the time when Micah first joined the fire department.
Yeah.
Our 3rd baby, I have him in like a firefighter's helmet. That's how little they were, and they never saw him like ever, because he was working sometimes 2 jobs, and then having to leave as soon as he got home, because when you're a volunteer firefighter, you gotta hit like a certain percentage. And on top of it, they had him on the investigation team, and he like came up with this safety at home thing for schools. So he would go in and teach schools, the fire investigation team, like all the classes, and none of that counted towards, like percentages. So he was literally gone all the time.
Just, but firemen are not about the money. It's about the right thing for the community. But it comes with some serious baggage sometimes.
Yeah, and that's why I think cannabis helps a lot. And they do when like one of the first things, they had like a family night, and you were supposed to bring your family, and your family was like introduced to like, okay, Dad might not be around for Christmas a lot, but Santa comes straight to the fire department, so it's okay, that kind of thing. And then they were like, wives, you might want to have like a beer ready for him when he gets home, and like slippers at the door type of thing. Yeah. And like it really, like in the long run, it sounds fine, but like in the long run, it creates like this huge circle problem.
Yeah.
And cannabis doesn't do that, so we definitely want to help break that stigma. Any frontline, military, LEOs, nurses, doctors, we all have trauma, to be honest with you. It helps everybody. In my opinion, the first time you smoke, if you like it, there's something in you that needs it, and there's people who don't like it. Well, you don't need it. You know what I mean?
Yeah, if you don't like it, don't do it. It's not for you.
Well, that's the thing too. It's sadly, I hate again omitting this, but it is both recreational and medicinal.
It is.
And like even in your instance, if you were to come home from a fire or whatever, that cannabis could serve you twofold. It could help you unwind from the adrenaline that you just went through. And again, there's times where you're cutting people out of cars, like you said. It isn't always just fires. It's a lot of times it's shit you just don't shake off. And that's tough to deal with. And then on top of that, you have the physical pain, from actually them hoses aren't light, none of that shit. But cannabis is helping with that there. So it's twofold. I mean, it's helping you relax and deal with what you just went through. But then again, the cannabinoids and everything else are helping your body deal with the aches and pains, due from what you just went through as well. There's no other medicine that can multitask, if you will, like cannabis can, like that.
Yeah. So what happens with firemen is alcoholism's number one. Pain pills are number two. Um, because you are like you carry 80 pounds of extra weight with you. What with our gear, our training, we work out every other day, at least fire department I was with, and then for portions of the workout, we put our gear on to work out in it. So that way you're used to it because I need to make sure that on a scene I can at least work for 20 to 30 minutes with all of my gear on at like full on is everything I've got. At that point, I will get sent to the medics and they'll evaluate me. I'll change out my air pack and they will like take my blood pressure and they will make sure that I'm capable to go back in. And if I'm capable to go back in, I'm going to go back in for another 20, 30 minutes. Yeah, it's strenuous. My body's destroyed from it, but yeah, it definitely helps out. Chiropractic care helps out a lot too.
Yeah, that's
but
it's another
marijuana
thing. Yeah.
is huge. Our bodies go through a lot of inflammation. Marijuana is an anti-inflammatory, so it's kind of like a win-win.
It works
And
with
then,
everything.
Yeah, sleeping good at night is awesome. I eat some edibles right before I go to sleep, dude, and then I'll sleep a good solid 8 hours like a baby. Awesome.
Yeah, the edibles hit a different way.
Yeah, for me, they knock me out. Like some people like edibles for the buzz or whatnot, but it as soon as it buzz hits me, I'm like, oh, there it is, and I'm like,
Yeah.
out cold.
I have refill on my coffee. I have to drink it. Tired.
So you kind of hinted to, and I usually ask that, but the first grow there, you said 2 lights.
Yep.
What were the strains? You want to like give me a little peek in that first room, if you will.
Yeah.
Your first
Yeah, it was
experience with growing in the plant.
Yep. So I had a buddy who I went to high school with, who was great friends, me and him. Back in high school, we did a lot of drug dealing. Like, it's like we were really into LSD and shrooms, marijuana, pretty much whatever we get our hands on. And then that life really wasn't panning out great as he got in trouble and some of our other friends got in trouble. I was lucky enough to like get through it. And then on the fire department hadn't smoked in years, but then the Michigan medical marijuana law changed and he hit me up and was like, dude, you gotta grow weed with us. Me and him had kind of made a pact back in high school that, hey, if anyone else ever figures out how to make it in life, we're gonna make sure the other one's along for the ride, right? So he's like, dude, it's the bee's knees, it's really awesome. And me and him would always grow in the woods, like grow on someone else's property or something. And yeah. So
Johnny Appleseed it.
yeah, exactly. And then it was legal, so I was like, dude, I got to do this. So we got our tax return came back, and I had $2,500. So we got 2,000-watt LED lights, a hydroponic system, and that did 12 plants, but there was an ebb and flow, and then the strains were. It was LA Woman and HOG. So those 2 strains. And they came from my buddy. And so he had been growing for like 2 years already. And so I was kind of getting advice from him, but then I got a bunch of books, did a lot of research. Plus, when I went to college, that's what I've always had plants. I've loved horticulture. That's what I wanted to do for a living, but marijuana wasn't legal. So I never had anything to apply it to. So then we did like phenomenal. Like the plants grew, everything was perfect. We used the nutrients we used were it's a local Michigan company. I can't think what the hell they're called. They only have 2 parts to the nutrients. Anyway, so it was really simple, and I just followed the directions, and the plants were phenomenal. Everything was perfect. They came over at the end of the harvest, and they were blown away because it was apparently better than theirs was, and they've been growing for years. And so they switched everything they were doing, they switched to what I was doing. And I just did what the store told me to do. So at the time I had gone to a store in Brighton called Grow Green. And I basically just told them what I wanted to do, and that's what they gave me, and it worked out. And then after that, we bought 2 more lights, and then we like expanded the garage or that closet into the bedroom. So we had 4,000-watt lights and then 24 plants. That harvest went really well as well. Then we did another plant, but then I started doing mother plants and like doing my own clones, and like I was like, just experimenting, trying to have fun with it. And then I got plants from my friend, and they had spider mites on them, and we lost everything. It was like overnight, and so we had two. Yeah, it was like 6 months of like we got rid of them, cut everything down, put new plants in. The spider mites were still there, so we lost like 2 total harvests. Then we learned how to deal with it and not, quarantine your plants. Don't take things from people you don't know. Like,
don't let other people near your plant
ever. Like, you are the only one that touches them. Like, they are your babies. And nature happens constantly, so you have to do a lot of preventative maintenance. But that's kind of where it started. Now we've had over 60 different strains over the years now. It's been 12 years. We currently have 16 strains. We've got 22,000-watt lights in 4 different rooms, and then we've got 2 bedrooms that we have LED lights in that fill both places up. So it's good fun. It's just an assembly line now.
We're cutting plants. We cut plants on every single day.
Yeah.
And trim plants every single day.
Yeah, like what we'll do now is like, so we'll have the plants in sets of 6 every 2 weeks. And then what we'll do when they're ready to harvest is we'll cut the tops off at the beginning of the week, then let the rest of the plant grow for like another week and a half, because they'll fill right back out. Plus those lower buds that didn't have light to them get light for that last 2 weeks, and they'll swell right up. But that added like 10% for us when we used to just cut the plants down all together. Like, just take the time, man. Like, once the machine's going, yeah. Yeah.
Not even little helpers, but little sprites come and help us.
Yep.
Oh, I can't hear you.
I can see your lips moving, but I don't hear anything happening.
Oh, there you are.
There you are. Now I can hear you.
Thank you. I suggest everybody grow in a perpetual like that. It's the only way. I mean, why should you, run a single harvest like that and run the risk of potentially running out of cannabis before you're ready to harvest, when you can, just divide it up a little bit and have cannabis all the time. I was jokingly talking with Thunder Dan last night in chat. He was showing off his new room, and I said, "You gonna fill that fucking thing, or are you gonna leave some workspace? What are you gonna do?" I'm like, "I'd fill it." Me, I call it like the whack-a-mole like type grow, and one comes in, one goes out, one goes in, one goes out. So there's nothing wrong with dividing up the work to a little bit all the time. Just gives you more reason to be in the
doable.
And we don't trust the government, like the laws especially when we first started, they were like they were so unclear what counts towards your plant grow, is it clones, and we're from the time period when you would get busted for weed, and they would take your whole like the whole pot and the dirt and the root ball, and then they'd weigh that, and that's how much weed you got in trouble for or whatever. So when they said you could have 12 plants per patient, we were like, that means 4 adult plants and 4 in veg and 4 clones, like, so we always and it's not a problem, like you don't have to grow 15 plants in one tent. Like you can grow one plant or two plants in a tent and get, depending on the strain and all that too. But
we are limited in this grow here to 800 square foot of grow space. If I try to put 70 plants in that to harvest all at the same time, they're going to be tiny little plants, overcrowded. There's going to be mold, all kinds of issues. But if I only have 30 of them in flower and the rest are like little itty bitty guys to medium sized ones, I can fit them all in that space and still have a 5 to 8 ounce plant harvested every single time, like every day. So it maximizes your space to have things staggered out. Plus, it makes the workload easy. Like to have to come in one day and do 70 plants soil changes into 20-gallon pots. You're going to need a bunch of people, but you're only going to need them that one day. So how do you have employees? So if you just stagger it all out, there's a little bit every single day. You get a couple people to help out. Many hands make light work. And that's how we're able to do it.
So a little bit off the beaten path here. I was thinking about this when we were talking during the last question. So I can't help but wonder, you have children now. You were part of DARE in high school. As a parent now, how would you edit that DARE book? Would you edit the DARE book for cannabis?
It wouldn't
How would you edit
in the
the
fire.
DARE book?
It doesn't exist.
It's stupid.
It causes they've done so many studies on that program and have found out that it caused more drug addictions, more drug problems. So for me, here's what DARE did for me. My older brother was using marijuana and excelling in life. I mean, he's a fighter pilot for the Marine Corps right now. He flies F-18s. He's the #1 Wizzo in the United States of America. I don't like him. We do not have a good relationship, but he's the man. And he did a lot of drugs. So, no, he didn't. Never mind. Either way, it doesn't matter. He did. And the DARE program was telling me as a kid that, it does this to you, it does this, it's going to ruin your whole life. It's in your genetic code forever. It's in your hair forever. All of this. It's a lie. And I knew that when I was like 12 years old. I'm like, you guys are lying about everything. So that whole program is totally disqualified.
Which is super dangerous.
And I'm a 12-year-old kid. And I was able to call the bullshit in that. Come on. And then
because when your kids think they're like, just what we thought, if they're lying to us about this, what other super important things are they lying to us about?
I know, like, is Santa Claus real? I mean, seriously.
That's funny.
It's up there with that type of stuff. Like, seriously, guys, come on. Let's educate people.
We're on the stance that
no one wants
all
to be
drugs should be legal. We don't think people should do all drugs.
Yes,
but,
absolutely.
He has picked up enough of our friends and from high school, like when we were in high school, heroin kind of broke out. And when we were in school, it was like, if you did it, like no one, like one girl did it, and it was like, oh no, like you would be stupid to do it. And by the time my kids would be in that school, it's like they teach kids how to give Narcan shots, which is the shot that you give when somebody ODs and brings them back too, so it's a completely different world. So I think just like DARE program is stupid. Being upfront with your kids about the benefits. But I mean, if you're gonna drink around your kid, there's no reason you can't be like, this is recreational. But there's no reason you also can't be like, this helps me. Helps me be a better mom. Personally, it helps me be a better mom. And the kids see that, like, they probably are like, hey, why don't you need my, you're kind of getting crabby.
Yeah, why are you so crabby?
You might want to go smoke your medicine, mom. Like, okay, fine. It's kind of funny because our kids are teenagers and COVID has been like so, like lonely for them. And, we just had to stop we used to hide when they were little from them, but we just like everything's in, you know, honest land now. There's no escaping each other. So we really had to like have serious talks with them. And at the end of the day, they've all like thanked us, you know, like thanks for being honest with me and thanks for sharing your like story of what you used to do. Don't, you know, you don't hide anything from them. And I think that makes a big difference because they trust us.
Yeah.
I thank you for
You
telling your
know,
kids and being straight with your kids, to be honest with you. I feel like if, you know, because there are still, I mean, still parents that are necessarily hiding it from their kids. And I
right,
really feel like by hiding it from them, you're kind of feeding into that dare stigma almost that there's something wrong with it. You're feeling
right.
guilty that, you know, you're so bad about what you're doing, you have to hide it. I would rather people, you know, talk with their kids and be honest with them about it versus
And it only makes them want
hiding
to
it.
do it more.
Yeah.
That's the thing. When you make something illegal or, you know, unallowable, it only makes them want to do it more.
Yeah.
They want to figure out why isn't it, you know, good or whatever.
Yeah.
Like, especially if you're lying to them about other stupid stuff. Yeah, so that's why I think everything should be legal, and then we should help people when they need it versus like getting them in trouble. You know, that's how we treat our kids. When they do something stupid, we are like, okay, what happened? You know, how can we help you through this? Not you're grounded, we're mad at you, you're stupid, or whatever. You know, like we don't.
I spent half my childhood grounded.
Yeah, that's.
I mean, my dad was the commanding officer on a military base. If I didn't wipe my butt right, I was grounded. And no joke, and it served no purpose. I have 3 boys who are better than me and my 2 older brothers were, and they've never been grounded. Not once. We were little assholes. We were also spoiled little white boys on a military base, and our dad was like the #1 head honcho, so we kind of like got to do whatever the hell we wanted to do. But we were grounded all the time for it too. So that's a different story.
So I guess I'm kind of going on with this a little bit too. You know, as we were growing up and as you're talking about there, we all got in a lot of trouble with cannabis. You know, we'll never be shit. You keep smoking that weed, whatever. We come a little further in life. Medical cannabis is passed and get a little bit of yeah, told you so. And then
Yeah.
of course COVID comes around and we're essential. And at that point I was like,
Yeah.
but in the same aspect with talking to the kids though about, you know, the next generation, I'm proud that, you know, I don't have to necessarily hide this anymore. More or less, I can, this is something hopefully that can be multi generations. Hopefully, in your case as well, if you know, that's their choice. But it's sure, I would, you know, that's something that I think is a fulfilling career or you know
and much
path.
rather
To be
than
honest with you.
smoke than start drinking at
And they-
21 or whatever, you know, like.
And they've watched me own my asphalt company. They watched me be a firefighter. They've watched me. I used to own an Auto One. Like before I was a firefighter, I owned an Auto One, which we did like car customizing, windshield replacement, car detailing. They've watched it all. And they watched me be stressed out and hating it. Yeah, they watched us make money. Yes, they saw us have a good living, but it was hell. And then they've seen this, and all they want to do is be part of it.
Right.
But they cannot wait till they can legally be part of this business. They help us any way they can. Like I can get the soil put out, so they'll do not the soil transfers with the plants, but they'll take the soil after the plants are cut down and they dump it. So they do all the outside processing of the wasted soil. You know, so they're very much ingrained in wanting to work hard and have a good living. And it's like I get to provide that. I just had to have a meeting with the township because we're working towards this microgrow licensing, and one of the steps is you have to have the township has to be well aware of what you're doing. The township supervisor here is like 82, and he's the youngest one on the board of like 6 people.
Yeah.
But sitting down and talking with him, we've had many interactions since we've moved to this town, like bringing the buildings out here, building the grow that we currently have. So they're aware of what we do, but now I want to do like, 10 times the amount, and I have to have their approval. And the board opted out. Like, so 4 years ago when all the townships had to decide if they were going to opt in or opt out, they opted out, 5-0 vote. So they all said no. But they are very well aware that this is here to stay, that it's not a fad, that this is real. There is very real research. And now, this like 2 weeks from now, I have to go in front of the board and make a presentation. Like I had to like submit my proposals to them, and they read the proposal and they're like, that sounds great, but now you have to come in front of us and do like an answer question interview. But hopefully they say yes, but if they say yes, that's all I need. And then I can file with the state will approve it. And then we'll have our micro grow and everything will be hunky dory for us. Like, it'll be the happy ever after. And if not,
we'll just keep doing.
We'll just keep doing what we're doing.
Our patience,
and then hopefully we be, eventually it's gonna go federally legal. Eventually, they're going to have to allow us to do it. It's just a matter of timing. So
the who and the when.
Yeah.
And why not?
But yeah, so if this is a group of people who are in their 80s who are definitely not in our generation, they definitely aren't for it. Their whole thing is like, is it going to be good for our township? And I have a whole bunch of, I'm going to create 20 jobs. The building's going to get built. We live in an Amish community around us here. Like, we're not Amish, but there's like, there's 15 Amish families that live around us. And so they did our roof on our house. They're going to build the pole barn for us. That's going to house our grow. So like, we're going to do nothing but create jobs right here in our community. So I don't know what else we could do.
I honestly, for some reason, I thought about this at one point. I don't know why. I got a crazy mind. But I honestly could see the Amish jumping in like full force and just killing the market, to be honest with you. They take such pride in everything else they do. I could just see them coming.
They wouldn't smoke it. They
baskets
would
of amazing.
They wouldn't smoke it. They'd be the best farmers. I know.
I can see it.
They know what they're doing.
And they already make their baked goods are so good.
Yes.
I like usually follow them before I start making my next edible. I'm like, what are the Amish people making?
I love it. I feel like I live in a Christmas village out here. Like every morning at 8:00, there'll be like three buggies with their horses pulling them going by, like the kids going to school. And then there'll be like 4 other kids riding their bicycle behind them, like every dang day. And then they're heading home at 3:00 every day. We had them do our roof, and I mean there was the dad and then his 3 kids, and like the youngest one was 9 years old. And I'm like, dude, like, is this like child service laws here? Like, this is like child labor laws. He's like, I'm not paying them. I'm like, oh, okay. But they knew what they were doing. I mean, they know more than me, and I'm scared of heights, so I ain't going on roofs no more.
That's awesome. That really is. Well, it's kind of, it's by reverting back a little bit, is cultivation of the plants. I have seen across the board, the plant ends up cultivating the person. Most people start growing for all walks of life, one reason or another, but they ultimately want to do it better. So they end up, researching, diving in, actually learning some shit along the way. And I think along that process, I think the plants actually cultivating you as a person, kind of weeding out some of the negative things you're doing in life or whatever, so it just kind of falls in the background. And I can see the spark in your eye. I could tell that at one point, and it was just me this last year, I've grown for a long time, but I've never seriously gave a shit about the soil and the organics and what was going on there. But
Mm.
this last year, throughout the process of this show, Smiley's Gardens, bringing in some soil and kind of getting me back into soil. I was growing in cocoa before this, and I had grown in soil before, and it was kind of the same. I'm going to buy a bag of it. I'm going to use it. It goes outside. But then this last year, doing this, having Smiley around, talking organics all this time. Once I dove in and opened that door, man, that is a very deep deep hole right there, and it doesn't at that point you are most definitely cultivating the plant in yourself. The deeper you go into that organics road, you really realize, excuse me, how the microbes are relating with each other, the same microbes in your gut, how it all is kind of symbiosis there.
Yep.
uh it's very powerful. It's very powerful. You kind of second guess your whole place in the grand scheme of things at that point. So
Yeah.
I cultivation of cannabis, I've seen it to be very enriching. So I don't see it a
Yeah.
bad thing for us, the future, the future generation.
Yeah.
I encourage anybody to do it, really.
It's endless amounts of learning. Um, the I do not grow marijuana plants. I create an environment in the soil that is my core. It's like if you have a saltwater fish tank, it's the reef is the base. You have to have all the live rock and everything living to keep the water balanced, to keep the fish alive. So it's all of the stuff you can't see. It's a microscopic world. Without it, nothing exists. Everything is a bunch of systems. So I have 3 different systems in that soil that are choosing to coexist with each other. And in the environment that they create, osmosis is allowed to break nutrients down and feed the plant. And then as long as I have the outside environment proper, like the proper lighting, proper timing, proper temperatures, and then I do my preventative maintenance, like sulfur burners. My reward is the plant. What I am not, the plant is the outcome of me making the soil and the environment proper. So I don't grow the plant. The plant is a result of me making sure everything else is perfect. And when I mess that up, I get less result. So that, and then, like you said, that the things I learned from that about myself is, okay, I am a system of 3 different systems that want to coexist. There's bacteria in my body. There's the cells that make me up. There's water and there's osmosis going on. And if there's imbalance, it doesn't function properly. And that can affect my thoughts, that can affect my brain, my mood, my health, all of it. And I learned that through my plants. I mean, it's just my dorkness, but I love it. So that's what I learned, and that's what makes me understand myself and be at peace with myself. And when my thoughts ain't quite right, it's because one of those 3 systems that make me is not in balance. Okay, I just got to fix that imbalance, and then I'm back to kosher. It's good. And the same thing with my plants. And so I'm able to fix myself a lot quicker than I used to be mentally, based on my experience with my plants. By going from I have to grow this plant, I have to grow it perfect, and like the it's all about the plant. It's got nothing to do with the plant. It's your environment. We've grown in 5 different locations. We've grown in multiple different counties, and every grow is different, and every grow has to be mastered. So, like here we've got 6 different buildings rooms that we grow in, and every room has its own little quirks that we have to master. But after that, everything just happens. It's like kind of easy once you do it all. But you got to be in it all day long, every day. Yeah. Yep. It's love. A labor of love.
That's true.
So 60 strains. I'm right there with you. I love popping me some beans. Which has been a favorite? Has there been one that has slipped through that you're like, man, that
Dutch
was the
cheese.
one?
Dude, Dutch cheese. So we cut clones off of our plants right when they go into, like, so 3 days before our plants go into flower, we'll lollipop them up. And then when we lollipop them, those are our new clones. Well, we had gotten through with this Dutch cheese that I had for years. It was one of my favorites. We had it for years. And then we cut it down. And then I went into the bedroom thinking I had plants like in week 3 of it. And we did not. And I was like, what? It's gone? And so, like, my partner that helped us at the time, I'm like, dude, how did we let this slip by? So we keep better notes now and keep way better track of what we're doing. Like, we've got charts of everything to help us keep track, because we got so many different rooms and we've actually got 2 different buildings because we only can have so many plants in each building. Keeping track of it is impossible. Like, we just forget, and it's like, oh, I got this strain over in this building. No, I got it over here still. So
Write it all down.
yeah, but everyone that is here knows exactly what to do and how to do it, and we've got a pretty good thing going on. So, in my opinion.
I like it.
Yep. Mm-hmm.
Do you have a favorite terp profile?
A favorite what?
Shirt profile?
Terp profile?
No, I like them all.
Yeah, I like everything. The reason we grow so many is because everything gets boring.
Yeah.
You know, we've got some strains that, you know, are only 13% THC. We've got some that are at 28, 29% THC. But then the balance between different things, like some of our lower ones, I get more stoned on. Like, they're more of a heavy buzz. And so it just depends what I'm going for. And I like diversity. It keeps it fresh. I like having other people's strains, like other growers that I know how their grow is going, and I know I'm not like gonna poison myself with their product. I love it. I love getting different things, you know.
Yeah. We usually have like a fruity and a gassy and like a lemony, you know, lemonol. That's probably a pretty popular one, I would say, that I like. Or the piney one. I'm really bad with like Latin names. But the piney one, it's always like, I like old school, you know, something that brings me back. And it's like, yeah, that's some good weed. And it might stink like a skunk, you know. I like the gross ones. Or like the super fruity ones are always good too. But I like them all. But yeah, we like to keep it fresh. That's why we like to rotate often. But we have the same ones. So it's like the same ones we've been growing, but we rotate, you know, throughout the year or whatever.
Yeah, we'll usually add like a new strain each year, and then it'll take us running it 3 times for us to know exactly how it's gonna like adapt and change to the grow environment. For us to know, okay, this is what it's gonna be. Because there's times we'll get a new strain and it'll only give us like an ounce, but you can tell the genetics are there. It's just not adapted to the room yet. And then once we do it a couple more times, we'll get it to where we want it to be. Or if we don't, we just stop growing it because it's a waste of time. But it usually takes us about a year to figure out if the strain's compatible with the way that we grow. You know, like there's a lot of strains we really like, and so we'll like adjust the way we grow for them. Like, we use 2 different kinds of soil. Some of the ones that grow in a heavy indica manner, we use one type of soil, and ones that grow like a heavy sativa, we use a different kind of soil. And then that helps them, and then it makes it easy for us. Pretty much, we're able to grow anything we want with those 2 different soils. So
a little bit of Mycos.
yeah, Mycos
So
and
you've
Anistos.
you've left yourself open for the obvious here. What would be the difference between the indica soil and the sativa soil?
Okay. So with the indica soil, they want more, they're going to use more nutrients. They want it more dense. They want a little bit tighter soil. Sativas grow more like in very arid type environments. So they want like a drier soil and not nearly as much nutrients because they'll burn easier. They're going to get taller and lankier. So you need to support them and give them their room to grow. Now, with like we were talking about that ATF strain, it's a heavy sativa, but it grows like a heavy indica. It's a short, stocky little plant that makes like really tall, thick buds, but it doesn't grow like a sativa, even though it's a heavy sativa. So that one we grow as if it's a heavy indica, if that makes sense, because it'll take nutrients all day long. It'll take anything you can give it. So that's kind of the difference for us here. Yep.
Some will take more water than others. It's just per strain.
Yeah, and so every day we look at the plants. We generally water every other day, and it's just a little bit more than a gallon of water. Then once a week we will do like a nutrient supplement on that, like every other watering, and then the watering after that we'll do like a bacteria bath where we'll give it azos and mycos, and that helps feed the rhizosphere, which is what helps the communication between the soil, the bacteria that's in the soil, and the plants, so that everything gets uptake properly. So you don't get like a nutrient lockout, things like that.
Do you let them go straight up? Do you run a scrog grow? How do you like to let them grow up there before flower there?
So
how do you do
like that?
Your training method? I guess.
Basically, we let them grow and let them do what they want. Here's my opinion on cropping plants and trimming them up, doing things like that. A billion years of evolution has figured out how to grow that plant 10 times better than we're ever gonna figure it out. Give it what it needs and let it do what it wants. What I like to do though is cut the bottom of the plant up like right before it goes into flower, like 3 or 4 days ahead of time to get my clones. And then it also makes it easier for watering. And then I don't have like the bottom of the plant going into the pots next to it or anything. And like your zone, like your light zone in the plants, you're not going to get those bottom buds to fill out. And it does waste a lot of energy. So we get our clones from that, which we make money on that. Plus we get our new crop on that. It's just beneficial. That's the only time I really mess with the plant. I know a lot of guys will try to like rip shade leaves off and stuff to like let the bottom branch get more light. That's not going to work. Your leaves are the solar panels and the energy system for the plant. You need them. So they will fall off naturally. So when they're going to fall off, take them off. But other than that, just let the plant grow. I do top them. So when we do clones, like the day I cut the clone, we'll do like a 6-inch tall clone. And then we'll top that when we clone it. So that's the most stress that we cause on the plant is the day we cut it down, we go ahead and top it,
all at once,
trim up our leaves so it's all done. And then later on as it grows, you end up, with a forked tree that by the time we put them into flower, they're about 2 feet tall. And then they grow from there.
So, do you do any type of? It doesn't really sound like it, but I'm going to ask anyway. Any type of manipulation during the flower process?
A little
During
bit
flower,
soft training,
not during flower. During veg, we've got like some of our plants to get really lanky. What we'll do is we use like those tomato rings, and we'll put it on the plant, and then we'll bend some of the branches down a little bit to help like spread the plant out a little bit, if you will, and that adds some strength to those tall, lanky branches that we're going to end up with. And that's really about it. The only other thing we do is like when they're in the flower room, we use like those yo-yo zip ties, and we hook those up to the lights, and that way when branches do get too heavy and start to fall down, we can, that'll hold those
Easily
up.
move it. It's easy
Yeah.
to move it too,
And
The tomato
basically,
cages are a pain
yeah,
usually.
yeah. Every other day when we go into water the plants, we rotate the plants and shake them a little bit, which that helps, move the plants. Plus, we have vent fans, that blow on those plants. Try to, they need to move to have the strength, So as much circulation as you can get in the room, and like moving them back and forth a little bit, and like that lets the light hit them differently. Seems to be the best for us.
So I heard you also mention that extracts. What type of extracts do you do? Do you do them yourself? Do you outsource them?
No, we do everything
What type
ourselves.
of things do you have available?
Yeah. Okay. So we do everything ourselves. So I do BHO extract. We do bubble hash extract. Uh, we can make sugars, all edibles. We do RSO, which is an alcohol extract, to make down to Simpson oil.
Yeah, the crumble wax.
Yeah, we do an almond oil, which is like an exterior lotion that you would put on for rheumatoid arthritis or joint pain, things like that. So like it's a topical, like directly on the spot that's the ailment.
We used to do live resin too and press it. We also did we used to do the rosin press, but then our press broke.
Yeah,
So
yeah.
we're saving
Plus,
to get a better, bigger
yeah.
one. But it's hard, it's more of a pain, and we have so much that we can make. We only have so much time, so we'll probably get into that again. But I really love the crumble. It's so like I just like that I kind of like that it's dry, which is probably not standard anymore. A lot of people like it more saucy or whatever. But I like that it doesn't stick to the jar, and it's really easy just to like throw in your bowl, and it's kind of just easier for me on the go, a little bit cleaner, no sticky like everywhere. So, we're not chasing fads. Sometimes you can go crazy, chasing different fads. So we've done it this way for nearly 10 years and have testing to go back all the way back, not obviously every batch. And with the way testing facilities are lately, that's another thing. But, save some money on testing right now. But yeah, that's my favorite. I love our crumble. And the RSO is awesome. And then we do our butter and sugar.
Yep. Yeah, our BHO will hit like between 70 and 90% THC. Our bubble hash hits between like 40 and 50%. Most of our marijuana strains hit above 20. But like I said, we've got like the Blue Dream only hits like 13%, but it's like 2% CBD. So it's like a really, really high CBD content, and I don't know, it's not my favorite, but
good for medicine.
Some people really like it, and to each their own. That's the thing too. I have strains that aren't my favorite, but then like we'll sell it to people, or it gets to people, and then their comments like, "This is the best we've ever had," and they've had our other stuff that I know is better, and I'm like, "No, it's not."
In our opinion,
like it's not better. And like, yeah, this is way better. I'm like,
this is your best we've ever had.
To each their own, That's why we have so many strains, and we have some people that will only get certain strains from us because that's specifically what they want. So we keep it around.
I can appreciate that myself. So I'm a fan of the crumble myself. I actually I think it's more terpy than most of the other extracts. I think the flats and the lipids that are left behind in the crumbles actually helps carry that buzz a little bit longer. I don't mind. I can appreciate the crumble myself. So
Yeah,
good
for
stuff.
us, we keep the chirps are there. The process that we use to finish it, we keep it like below 81. Like 81 degrees is where butane is fully combusted. So you got to get that temperature. But anything above 60 degrees is starting to burn your chirps out. So a lot of people will take their BHO and they'll like cook it at like 120 to 130 degrees for like a 12-hour period, like in an oven. Which it does help finish it, but you are going to burn out all those terps, and then what some companies do is they'll like extract the wax two different ways, where they'll have one tube is the oil itself, the next tube is just the terps. Then they keep the terps separate, and then they'll reintroduce them, so that way they can finish the wax at a higher temperature and still preserve the terps and put them back in, which is awesome. I don't have the ability to do that, so we keep things at that temperature where we know the butane's finished and out, and we just have to do it for a longer period of time to make sure that we can, we've got a product that passes test and is safe for consumption.
A small craft, batch.
Yeah, because that stuff can kill you.
Yeah.
If it's not done right, that stuff will kill you.
Don't try it at home. Let the firefighters do it.
If you don't know what you're doing.
Oh,
I've seen somebody in chat
Yeah.
there asking basically sweet almond oil versus the MCT there. What's the benefit of the sweet almond oil versus?
the almond oil. The almond oil is just a massage oil, actually. So the MCT or coconut oil is going to be edible, where the almond oil that we have, we infused with like rosin chips. So after you press, you have your rosin chips full of CBG and CBN, super good for your skin and pain relief. So instead of just like throwing them away, you can infuse it with almond oil, and then you can just rub it on. I use it I have neuropathy in my feet, so like your feet go numb and it has like lightning almost, and so you can put that on. It helps a lot. Rheumatoid arthritis will help, with that pain.
But it's
that type of
not
thing.
edible.
Not edible.
It's-
I mean,
It's topical.
you could invest in
Well, you could get
oil.
almond oil
Almond oil.
that is edible, but this stuff is not
That's just a
edible.
massage
It's
oil.
exactly. So the coconut oil that we make is consumable.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's actually one of the first things that we ever infused was coconut oil.
Yeah.
Back when Grant, our first cancer patient, needed to ingest more, or so like the gram is so much, and so we just wanted to help him have like a more pleasurable, experience, and so we would load up coconut oil and hash, and make our brownies out of that. Oh,
yeah,
they're so strong casing. We don't do that anymore. Now I infuse it, and then I use key for our edible infusions, because we can use all our other sugar and trim. We take off all the plant matter that doesn't have any sugar, first of all, and then we use the good stuff for the crumble and the RSO. And then any of the keef I can make edibles with, and it tastes better in my opinion, because I don't really like the taste of cannabis. I like to taste, the chocolate. I don't want to taste the weed. So that's how we do it in my kitchen. We could also probably do RSO more. But I like to let my friend Pearly, who was on the show last week, do the whole flower RSO, and I like to keep with the keef, So she's so sweet.
She was an awesome lady for sure.
Yeah.
That's one of the other things I do. I genuinely love doing this because I do get to meet so many great people in the cannabis industry, and I absolutely love hearing the story.
She's the
It's
best.
none
She's
the
the
same.
best. She's the best supporter. It's hard. Everyone talks about how wonderful the cannabis community is too, but there's, some rough people. Like when you do a good thing, sometimes it makes sometimes it upsets people too, and you kind of stand out and you're like a target, sometimes. But she just is just such a great supporter, and she's one of the reasons that she encouraged me to do more edibles. We maybe a year ago started, almost a year ago, we got this property across the street, and it has a lot of maple trees in it, and so we started tapping the maple trees and made syrup, like homemade over the bonfire syrup, right? And the flavor was so good, like so smoky compared. I actually don't even like maple syrup, but the flavor was just so good. I can't wait for more. But anyway, it was like I have to make this with I have to make this into an edible because I thought the smoky flavor would go good with the cannabis, you know. And so Pearly was my guinea pig for a while, and she helped me like tune in the formula, and I'm so thankful because those are just my favorite. Yeah, little treat. They just melt in your mouth. This maple candy that I make out of it. So that's my favorite candy right now. My little plug for my candy.
That's awesome. There's nothing wrong with that, man. Everybody loves some pumpkin edibles. That's for sure.
Mhm.
So, what type of variety all there do you offer as far as edibles go? Might as well entice us.
Okay. Well, a lot of the stuff, like in the summertime, I have like this little witch's garden with rosemary and all kinds of herbs, and we try to make our like life off the grid and like homestead. So Mike is bringing me stuff. This, for example, is like chamoy rings. It's a Mexican candy. So in the springtime, I went and collected violet flowers, and then I made jelly out of that and infused the jelly. And then I just added like spicy Cajun and chamoy seasoning and added peach rings to it. And so it's like a smoky, savory, little treat. It's so good. This is enough.
You gotta show it.
No, it's so much. My maple melts are super good. Like I love being like a little old lady, so I have hot cocoa bombs, but this is like a little teacup. It's probably hard to see, but I put fairy sparkles, I call it, in a lot of my edibles because we're super nerdy and we love Dungeons and Dragons, and we met over like a super nerdy movie with puppets and trolls or whatever. So, and we go to the Renaissance Festival. Our wedding was like a Renaissance theme wedding, and he wore a kilt and stuff. But I can tell him that, right? So anyway, so I want to like add magic, everywhere we go. And so that's kind of like the garden is kind of like my magical place, right? And so we're growing the herbs indoors and outdoors and adding some sparkle and magic to everything. And I like old-fashioned candy, so I like to make the caramels because I feel like it hides that cannabis flavor again. So I like covering caramels in dark chocolate and the hot cocoa bombs with my little fairy sparkle in it. So when it melts away, you have like sparkles in your hot cocoa. I have a fairy sugar that's just a simple sugar, infused sugar with sparkles and a little bit of colored sugar. That's super fun to add into like tea or coffee. Oh, here it is. I'll show you. It's super fun. Hot cocoa mix. This is fun. I don't know if you can see it. This is my latest little thing. Can't really see it, but some of the rosemary and the lavender that I grew. We infused bath salts with CBD and CBG and CBN, and the coconut oil, rose petals, rose pips, sunflower petals, a lot of flowers that I've grown and dried over, and a little bit of our proprietary herb in there. And so you take a bath, it would be floating on, around, it'd be super pampery. I thought that would be perfect for Valentine's Day. Sesame seed candy is another favorite. I think I am a little old lady inside, but but yeah, my maple melts are brownies are always a hit. We also raise turkeys and chickens, and are into hunting. And so at some of our vendor shows, I make really good soup. So hickory roasted turkey soup, and then I infuse it or not infuse it, so people have an option, you know, when they come to the table. So I kind of try to do like a Renaissance festival right at the table.
Yeah. Oh, too.
And have some of our pottery and art there because we all are really arty. We were also like in art classes together in high school, and so we have like my mugs and you know, different like dab tools that I fashion and the gnomes, or we also rescue cats, which is ridiculous.
They just showed up.
They just come and people drop them off, which is really sad because we live in the country, right? And there's a barn, so people are like, "Oh, you have barn cats. Here's more cats." And so we have to like TNR cats. So if you're letting your cat outside, TNR your cat, neuter your cat, by the way. Anyway, cats. Now I forgot what I was talking about.
Yeah, you just kind of threw that one in there.
The cat thing. Oh yeah, so I do a lot of little cute cat paws, you know, or mermaid tails, you know.
Oh, your dab tools.
Yeah, my dab tools.
Oh, yeah.
Full circle. Oh, crocheting, whatever I can come up with to help, you know, meet and, you know, make ends meet and be able to provide our cancer patients with free medicine, you know. Like, you know, that's my deal. That's our passion. Yeah.
That's fucking awesome.
Oh,
I can tell you right now, to look at all them delicious edibles, I can see there's no wonder why he's after some edibles. I sitting there watching that. I'm going, God damn, I'm hungry. I could fucking eat myself to a pass out state in no time over there too. Holy shit.
I started making a Chex Mix. Oh man, that is good because I was like, I need something spicy, and I tried nuts, and you know, that didn't really kick. I needed something like crunchier, and so I made this Chex Mix. It's so easy if you haven't made infused Chex Mix. You should do it. So good. Spicy Chex Mix. Really good.
So you talk about art on your Instagram here too. Is how does art come into the picture with the cannabis and everything as well?
Well, in high school, you know, we were both are into art and in arts classes together. And when so we've always been, you know, super arty. Like that was our plan. We didn't plan to be in the car industry or firefighters or, you know, whatever in pharmacy. You know, that wasn't our plan. We were gonna be art teachers or work for Disney or something, you know. But then, you know, life happens and art is often put on like the back burner. But it's so important, you know, like, and schools are getting rid of it, you know, it's so important, I think, to have art in people's lives. Especially like you're not in COVID, you know, like we're, you know, in front of the screen all the time and there's just nothing like opening our minds. So to me, when I kind of have always wanted this like happy refill center with this farm, and the art kind of just came naturally along with it. It's just like part of our lives. And to come here, when we moved to this place, we went through a hard time. Like, I don't even want to talk about it, but we went through some abuse, you know, and I became very like depressed and lost all, like, I didn't want to do any art and actually started to like throw things away that I have done like over my lifetime, you know, things that I made for the kids, you know, all, you know, so it's just like, I'm never gonna do this again. You know, why even bother, you know? And so I kind of had shut myself off to that. But once we got out of that situation and we were able to grow, you know, free of abuse and be ourselves, the art came back, you know, and the art saved me when I couldn't talk about things with people. I could draw, I could color, I could sculpt.
Right.
I could find myself again in that art, you know. And at the time, like no one really believed me. I had to like stand up, you know, and convince people that this was happening almost. And so the art never let me down. You know, like I could always go back to what I knew. So when I finally could, it just like opened up. You know, almost like if you've ever experienced mushrooms, it just opens up a door back into your soul, if that makes sense. And it's super cheesy to say, but it's so true. If you know, you don't have to be like a good artist to reach that. You know, like adult coloring is what actually started me back on you know, the path to be able to sculpt again. Yeah, I'm good. I'm good. And so pottery in school was kind of where my heart was. I love sculpting and pottery. And when we moved here, Micah saw that I wasn't doing art anymore, and he saved up and bought me a pottery wheel and clay, and you know, that was so meaningful.
Because I'm awesome.
And you know, and it was just like it, I know that it can help other people. I'm not a therapist. I feel like I self-therapized myself through.
That's not a word.
I know. I make up my own, man. You know, I know it's helped. It's just as helpful as cannabis and you know, shroomies and getting into nature, you know, and if I can help other people with just our little art projects that makes me do the art, you know, I have a reason to do the art. And I'm happy when I do the art. So it makes me happy, you know, and the kids join in and it's like we can homeschool and do art and they know that it helps people, you know, they make little Dungeons and Dragons characters and help us make the tools, you know, and they help me make little fairy doors and you know, they're always like, what can we do to help, you know? So one day maybe we'll all have like a cool arty family business. Yeah, well, we already do.
That'd be awesome, man. I wish you guys the best on that dream. And I want to thank Loyalty Organics Ty in chat for I looked up and read his comment in chat. He said, I love the way he's looking at her. And I looked
Aw.
up and I did see that look that he was talking about. And I've seen you both look at each other like that all throughout the night. And shout out to an amazing couple who, after 20 plus years, are obviously very much still in love and are very so
That's
lucky
right.
to be able to share, you know, a common dream and work together in, you know, cannabis and the art and everything else. Obviously you guys share a lot of the same loves and
Yes.
so that's awesome, man. Shout out to you guys. You guys are
Thank
pretty
Thank
fucking
you.
awesome. I just want to
That-
say that. So,
I appreciate
I
that.
can tell you marijuana has saved our marriage. You know, like she was letting light into the different jobs she's had. Like she didn't want to work in the pharmacy industry. I hate working on cars. I did it for 12 years though, because that's how you pay the bills. I did really enjoy being a fireman, so there's no regrets there. But my actual company, I didn't want to do it. I just had to make money. Like I had to pay the bills somehow, and it allowed, like I was able to do it and be a fireman. Um, but I would wake up and go to work and not see my wife all day long. She would wake up and go to work and not see me all day long. And then we would get home at the end of the day, run through whatever we got to get done real fast, and then go to sleep and wake up and do it all over again. So the person I want to spend my life with, I got to see like an hour a day. That's why most marriages don't make it, because that's what's happening. And then your wife or your spouse is spending more time with other people than they are with you. So of course people get separated. But we literally wake up every day. We work together all day long. We have different roles. Like I'm the producer. Like I wake up before everyone and I do the watering, soil changes. I mean, I have help with that. So like me and my team are the producers, and her team are the advertising, getting rid of it, the going to the shows, the connections with stuff like this. And if we weren't working together, this would be, I can't do it all. It is too much of a production to be at the level where we are. So, and it's hard because the state will only let us do so much. So we have to constantly make sure we're not overstepping the bounds of what we can or can't do and still make it work at the most production. Like we're never allowed to have more than 15 ounces of product on hand, but we have patients that we have to make Simpson oil for. Well, I have to take like a pound of product and extract that to come up with like an ounce of proper Simpson oil for them. So we're constantly juggling between what the law says we can or can't do and what our patients need. And it just needs to not be that way. But we figured it out, and so it's doable. It's just a lot of work. It'd be really easy it'd be really nice if it wasn't like that. But either way, we're willing to do it because I have seen people's lives change completely. People that should be dead or were said they'd be dead are not dead. And some that have passed had a much more enjoyable passing than they would have had it not been for marijuana. And like my marriage is awesome because of it. My life is awesome because of it. It's the bee's knees, man. I don't know how else to explain it. It's the greatest thing for me. And I don't care what anyone else says about it.
Yeah.
Totally agree. I totally agree, man. It's a blessed, it's a blessing. I feel the same way, very lucky just to be able to do this, to be able to be around this point. And I'm glad to see other people living the cannabis dream, to be honest with you.
Yes.
It means a lot.
So,
Yes. Yeah, we are living the dream. It's hard some days, but for the most part, I'm doing exactly what I want to do, and I'm having a blast doing it. And other than the fear of like big pharma maybe pushing us out, but other than that, we have the ability to get the micro grow licensing now because we have been successful. So for us, we'll probably be fine. But for a lot of other people, it's unreachable based on the amount they want to charge for it, the rules and regulations you have to go to even qualify for it. But it is getting easier and easier every single day, which is good. So, but within a couple of years, it should be totally doable for people to have a small grow and be able to pay taxes, be able to pay an employee or two, pay yourself, have a legitimate income versus this donations and like money laundering or whatever people are having to do. Why are we creating criminals in a system that is legal? Like we're allowed to do it, and I want to give you my money. Just take it from me. Let me pay you my money, and just get off my butt about it. But laws just have to change, and then they are. So
yeah,
it's
federalize it.
all of us keep doing what we're doing, and they, Pandora's box has been open, man. They can't shut that. They can't shut it and stop. So they just want to regulate it, and it needs to be regulated because there is a lot of really toxic product getting put out there.
Sure, yeah.
A lot. And it does need to be regulated. It does need to be tested. That's why we pay for our tests. I mean, it's $550
Just needs to be cheaper.
for a test.
Like if people just could get their stuff tested, nobody doesn't not want to get tested.
Exactly. It's just a ridiculous price.
Ridiculous. It shouldn't be $1,000 to get a freaking gram tested.
Yep. Yeah.
I guess as things move forward, uh, do you plan on hopefully catering to like the smaller group? I mean, cannabis is fulfilling even in small numbers, whoever you can reach. But if we go for a larger scale, could you see yourself? I mean, wanting to scale up? I mean, it's fun. It's fun to a point, but when it gets so big, it may
Yeah,
take the fun out of it. So
That's
would
the
you
whole
rather
thing.
I
stay?
don't. Yeah,
That's why it's
no,
taken us, I mean, not this long, but
yeah,
like that's one of the pros and cons, of do you go from a caregiver to a micro to a license A to B, whatever. Like micro sounds reasonable because it's basically what we can do anyway. Um, if you go to license A, then you have to grow so many plants. I mean, you don't have to, but that's what's happening. That's your limit or whatever. You can shove that many plants in under one roof, and then you sacrifice that one-on-one, in my opinion, quality and that soul, like I said earlier, that love that's in there. It's like when you buy crappy produce at the store, at the grocery store, and you know the difference. Like, and then you buy strawberries in the summertime, and you're like, oh my God, this is what a strawberry is supposed to taste like. And there's room for both in the industry. Like, there's no reason to cut each other out. It's not your dig to grow delicious strawberries. It's fine.
yeah. I do not want to have a huge grow. What I want, the micro grow allows you to have 150 plants that are finishing. So you could have 1,000 plants in different stages. With the way that we do everything, we would need about a 35 to 3,800 square foot facility of growing space to do that. It would take about 10 employees. And that's basically where the industry is. In my opinion, that's where we would have to be to even play ball. I don't want to be any bigger than that because I don't know. I don't want to have 100 employees. I don't want to have 3,000 plants. It's not for me. Other people are that ambitious. I'm 41. I just want to be able to do what I'm doing. If I could grow just the number I'm growing and have it be sustainable, like to where my kids have a future business, I would leave it at that. But that's not possible. So with 150 plants, so with a micro grow, that's sustainability from me, my family, a future. If my kids want to be part of it, they can. If not, I have enough money to pay for them to go do whatever they want to go do. Hopefully. But it's a good life. That, and that's all I want. Like I'm not. I don't want to be busy. I've been busy my whole life, and it was frustrating, miserable. I mean, I had a lot of fun, but I could have had way more fun doing this. Had I had the ability when I was 18 years old to do what I'm doing now, my life would be a totally different story. And
Oh, yeah.
I think it would have been a lot more fun.
Yeah.
But I'm very happy for the life I've lived. I'm happy for all the experiences I've had. But yeah, at the same time, man,
It's been a hard
I would
road.
love where we're at right now in life. It's way better.
There's nothing wrong with that, man. It's all about quality of life. I mean, and that's what ultimately cannabis, especially medically, does. People with cancers and stuff like that, it's a battle for them. And even as you kind of stated earlier, it might not be the complete piece to the puzzle that fights it all, but if even if it doesn't cure the cancer in the end, if we can buy them some quality of life while they're suffering through the end, then isn't that what we want in the end? It's just a happy, some kind of comfort through it all. And cannabis offers that. There's I this is a miracle plant. It really is. It's offering so many possibilities to so many people.
Yes, sir.
I'm so grateful. So
Yeah.
grateful.
Absolutely.
It's just like the cow industry. We live in a rural area, rural, and there's cow farms, everywhere. And you can see the different cow farms. There's the kind that have all the cows shoved really close together where they don't move. They're just like a little thing, and they don't move when they eat in the same place. And I don't know if they rotate them at all, but they're just in the same place all the time. And it smells, and they're not outside, and they're probably eating poop, and it's not clean. And they lose a third of the cows on top of it, like right away.
Yeah, about a third don't make it to harvest.
So it's very wasteful. And they have to grow the corn, like in order to support the cows and get the cows so cheap, they have to grow their own corn to feed the cows. So they're doing this like whole thing. And like last year, the corn failed. The season was bad, and so all that work, was for nothing. And anyway, and then there's the other cow farm that has the cows running around, the field, and you can just see the difference in the happy cow, in the happy cows. And that's going to be, like you said, like in our gut, everything's related. That's just going to affect so many things. And same thing with cannabis, and that is why one of the reasons why we want to stay small and not grow in a factory way.
Yeah, like we used to grow hydro when we started, like I had said. And then the more research I did and the more I learned, and then when we were working with Iron Labs, and I was being educated properly on what is happening when we grow through hydro and what we're doing when it's organic, and the difference in the product and the compound and how it affects our bodies. And like with growing hydroponically, you can take a plant and just give it 13 compounds and have a finished product. But marijuana has the ability to take in over 400 different compounds, okay, if it's grown organically. So just like a human being you could live on vitamin pills, okay, or you could live on a healthy diet. A person could still live on just vitamin pills, but that's not going to be the elite human being it could be. It's just going to be whatever those little bit of nutrients allowed it to be. But if it ate a full healthy diet all the time, that's going to be, and it took care of itself, that's going to be an elite human being. Same thing with your plants. So I can go ahead and take 13 compounds and get a plant from start to finish and have it be big, heavy buds. But that plant isn't going to have the terpenes in it. It's not going to have half the essential oils it's supposed to have. It's not going to be full because it's missing part of it. And those marijuanas sometimes lead to people being paranoid because the balance isn't proper in the marijuana. Yes, you got a lot of weed and you're able to get to harvest if it's real pretty, but that's not a whole product. You could take organic food and the difference between organic and the what's manufactured like through industrialized farming. Yeah, they're going to get you a lot of carrots. Carrots going to be totally different, and it's going to have different things in it for your body. So to us, that's huge, and so that's why we switched to organic from hydro. I was able to get a lot of product through hydro, and you can finish plants earlier because you can force feed them, with certain nutrients to get them to finish a week sooner. So yeah, all in all, you could take hydro and get more weight, but it's not medicine.
And that's fine if that's what you do. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
like,
that's why there's
it's just not what we do.
Yeah, there's a business for every bit of it, but for what we do, what we believe in works for us and is like healthy. I don't want to make money on killing someone. I could never put a pesticide on there. Like some people use Avid so that they don't get spider mites on their plant. That stuff is systemic for 8 weeks, and it's toxic for human consumption, whether you're smoking it or eating it. Yet people do it because they got to get their product to a finish. Using Eagle 30 to prevent powdery mildew is toxic for human consumption. They sell it for tomatoes because it's okay if you eat it, but it's not okay if you smoke it if it's combusted. Well, it's on marijuana. And what do you think people are doing with that product? but yet people use it all day long because it gets their product finished. Like I had friends that they grow in their basement, and so they have powder mildew always because they don't do the preventative maintenance of like sulfur burners or anything like that. So they use that Eagle 30 and they justify it by I have to make money. So you're killing people to make money. Like that's to me, it's immoral. It's not. I don't know. I can't do that. I don't know how people do that. But I mean, the whole world does. People make all kinds of products that kill people, and they sell it all day long. So I understand that people do that, but that's not for me.
Yeah, we are adjusting our medicine first and foremost too. You know.
Sadly enough, that's the companies that I'm talking about earlier that's going to try to drive us out of business or try to drive us out of growing. That's going to have the fucking t-shirts that are like, this is your medicine. As you're saying that you can push it like that, but it isn't necessarily getting everything out of it, making it the medicine it could be. And it's missing the heart and soul of, the growth.
Exactly.
You know,
yeah. Growing dude, marijuana is a package, man. It's a lifestyle. It's not just you smoke. Like there's the stigma of it's a drug. So is food, man. So is water. So is everything you're addicted to and must have to survive. Like whatever, but it's not. The stigma is wrong, and it's not just a drug. Okay, a drug is like meth and heroin and crack and things that are destructive to our society and to people's individual lives. Those are bad. Okay, like so like half the pharmaceutical drugs out there are bad. They are destructive. Marijuana is not destructive. The only thing destructive about marijuana is the fact that it's illegal, and if you get caught with it, you get put in jail and it ruins your life. That is the only negative thing about marijuana. So if it was legal, that gets rid of the only negative thing.
Right.
Oh, and if your parents are against it, then marijuana's got a negative thing too. But other than that, man.
Yeah, parents shouldn't have to choose what state they live in according to how sick their kid is. You know?
Yeah, for getting help for marijuana, some people have to move. Like we've had people like in Wyoming that moved out here to Michigan so they could get medicine because we could ship it to them. Like you have to like change your career in your life just because your state won't allow something. That's ridiculous.
like to say too, I think you got a perfect setup there. If I had the ultimate setup, I've been quoted to say I'd like to be like a non-profit cannabis grower. If I could just grow the plant, if I could just be in that garden and do what the fuck I want, you know what I mean? I could eat, have my vehicle, and then whatever, and I could just maintain. I'd give the rest of this shit away. So I think that's pretty cool. You have a nice setup there. You get to actually cultivate and lose yourself in the garden, and it sounds like you just kind of hand it. You're able to go, all right, here you go.
yeah. Not to everybody, but to
I'll be in the garden. I'll be in the garden.
Exactly.
That's so true.
Yeah. Like I live where I work. Like we got 14 acres out here. We just like the buildings are in different locations, so I get my exercise going back and forth all day long. And I mean, it's a pretty big. I don't know. It's a pretty big deal. It's as big as we can legally have it be. Which is pretty good size. I mean, we do 20-gallon pots, plant every day. I mean, so stuff builds up and adds up. So we gotta like the infrastructure behind once the plants are done and gone and broke down, and like the soil, what do we do with that? Like we have
a lot of soil.
There's a lot in the
backyard.
Yep. But everything's piled up in sections so that it ages for a year, then we can use it in our other gardens outside. And
that's a good circle.
Yeah.
We our goal would be to be off the grid, right? And like not, I hate how wasteful the industry is. There's so much electricity,
Yes.
so much, packaging, the soil, hydros, what are those little beads called? Like, what do you do with all this hydrotone, all the stuff, the pots, so we really try to think about lowering our carbon footprint at every single step of the way too. Like that, it's super important. And if if people aren't doing that, it's also setting a precedence for the industry to, like, it's a bad example, like if the next thing that we are attacked for is polluting the ocean with whatever, plastic or whatever, it's not a good look, so we really want to, like all the electricity, if we're blamed for, the next ozone layer hole or whatever, that's not our goal. So that's why we have the solar panels, and that's why we do the organic and try to grow our own food, and live under our means if possible, and can, and whatever, do everything we can to keep it small. We live way out in the boonies so that our rent is as low as possible. We moved away from the rich county, so it's all part of it. It's all important. It's a big circle. Our giving circle, which it's not even like nonprofit. It's often we pay for people to have their medicine. Since the beginning, Micah's firefighter paycheck and the asphalt company's paycheck paid for all that stuff for years and years and years and years. But how can you say no to somebody who's dying and their kids need them, and you have the ability and the energy to do it? Like we couldn't say no. We couldn't. My best friend was like, somebody has to fight. It doesn't have to be you. It could be, and if you choose to do it, I believe that you'll make the best difference, but it doesn't have to be you. And so when we do these hard things, I try to keep it in mind, like it doesn't have to be us, but like we've had to fight in court and hire a super expensive lawyer like Mike Camoran, to fight our old townships, kind of not crooked, but they were using a loophole. I don't know if you guys remember when the law was like, just take, whatever product you find on people and turn it over to the attorney general, and then the attorney or prosecuting attorney, and they will decide if it's a crime. Well, we had clones completely in a box in our car, like it is written in the law. And then the people that Micah even worked with at the time were the people who pulled him over. Like they used to be firefighters, and he thought he could like talk to them like friends, and no, and he showed them this like the law on his cell phone, and they're like, we don't fucking care, put that shit away. We're taking your car, we're taking the clones, it's been a hard expensive fight.
So Livingston County was going to prosecute me for 45 years for manufacture of a Schedule 1 narcotic. And this is while I was on the fire department at the time. And basically what happened, great story. So a week before this, the facility that we were growing in got robbed. They got about $20,000 worth of plants and products, plus lights. They destroyed the facility. I was on the investigation team with Livingston County and Washtenaw County, which is LawNet. So I work with them on the fire end, not the police end. But I work with the police officers on mutual cases. So anyways, my place got robbed, so I have to call the police, which is the county I work with. So now this is all over the radio. So I'm a sergeant on the fire department, plus I run the school programs. So like everyone in the county knows me. Like I couldn't go to the grocery store without kids saying hi firefighter Micah, and then introduce me to their parents. Like I lived in a glass house, but I didn't break any laws. I wasn't doing anything wrong, and I got robbed. So I'm calling the police. So Basically they had officers come in to do the investigation that I worked with. I'm like, oh hey guys, like I work with them every Monday night. So they came in and they were actually really, really awesome. And they did a full investigation on it. They were able to figure out who had done it. And they supported me. They kept it from being in the papers and from it becoming a huge issue in the town. My fire chief, had a meeting with me. Basically, they wanted to keep it hush hush. He's like, the last thing I want is every fireman growing marijuana. He's like, I understand what you're doing, I understand why you're doing it, and it's totally fine. But the last thing we need is, he's like, some of these guys, if they get caught, some of these guys are dumb. More like, he's like, you're smart enough, just do everything by the book. And I was like, I am. I'm not gonna mess this up. I worked too hard for this career and I love what I'm doing, so I'm not gonna fuck it up. But dude, I gotta make a living. And you guys don't pay a shit. I have no insurance. Like, what do you want me to do? You guys want me to be here 40 hours a week? It's impossible. So either way, that was kind of like that story. And then where was I at before that? What happened after that?
I don't know.
I don't remember where I was going with that one.
We got off on a tangent.
Yeah.
It's been a hard fight. That's what I was.
Absolutely. Oh, so then after that, I get pulled over, right? And then they pull me out of the vehicle and they just start searching my car instantly because they already knew I had been robbed. So the police department got split in half. The one guys that worked with me that liked me and they were okay with what I was doing, and the other side that were like totally against marijuana. And the prosecuting attorneys basically had it, if they catch you with anything, you do not issue any tickets. That way the police officer is not held accountable to the law. They just seize the stuff and take it, and then they kind of disappear. They took my car, took the product, disappeared. And then Michael Comorn, who was the lawyer that wrote the Michigan medical marijuana law, I called him to defend me. And basically they broke 5 laws in that search and seizure. And so if we were to prosecute the police officers, they would have potentially gone to prison for breaking the laws. But it would have cost me like $100,000 to $200,000 because it would have gone all the way to the Supreme Court. He's like, so basically they got them to let the case go. So when I showed up for court, they basically had a piece of paper. They met me in the hallway and they had a piece of paper. And they said, sign this and you're good to go. Sorry for all the inconvenience. I was like, dude, this is some bullshit.
They were going to charge him with like federal.
Yeah.
What is it called? What is it?
Manufacturing Schedule 1.
Yeah, like you have a meth lab. Like we had a meth lab when we were completely within. We were taking clones from our house to our grow, because we didn't want to grow at our house with our kids at the time. It was looked down upon or whatever.
They were in a box in the trunk.
We're going way out of our way.
We were following the law to the T.
And they were like, we don't give a fuck.
Yep.
And it cost us like $10,000. And caregivers are supposed to like live through that, like.
And that was like right after we got robbed. So it was like that year, man. I was like, this is some.
It was like,
crap,
like we thought cameras were following us, like satellite, like we were like worried about our phones being triangulated, and it was very traumatic. I definitely have PTSD from it.
Yeah, it's just amazing what they have the ability to do. And they wield it around like a kid with their dad's gun or something. Like it's so dangerous, and to them it's no big deal. They're like, we're not even giving you a ticket. Like, dude, you guys just cost me 10 grand, almost ruined my life. And we're on the same fucking team, guy. Like we work together every day. One of the police officers, I was his training officer on the fire department. So like we worked together for 5 years, like every day on calls together. Like I trusted that guy with my life. And then the second he had the opportunity to ruin it, it's what he did. And it's like, no, I don't want to deal with that. But that was just one person. There's other police officers, and the great majority of them have helped me every step of the way. Like we had that robbery. The chief of the police department in the township we were at, he came in and did interviews with me, like on camera, and he went to a Chiefs rally in Georgia. where it was like big pharma's coming in and they're trying to say how bad medical marijuana growing is, and the police department saying no, the medical marijuana industry is what we want because we can regulate it, we can know the individual people. And then I was like one of their examples. He was like, here's this guy, look, and they had like video footage. They did a full interview with me for like an hour where they went through the grow and they're like, this is how it should be, and this is a person doing it right. This is the standard that we want, and we don't want big pharma having it. So there's those organizations out there that are like really, really good people, and they really are trying to help us out. So,
but when like we hear people in the industry, who don't want it federalized because they're worried, and understandably worried that will make it go corporate. You know what I mean? That like big pharma, it'll just open it up to be vertically integrated. So how they call it, owned from top to bottom by one company essentially. Yeah. That's really anti-productive to a lot of, I think, the movement, because we won't be treated seriously until we're a business like any other. Like, so we could where we could register as a nonprofit, and it's not just like a gift out of our heart, because that's all it is right now. Nothing's official. You can't get a loan. Like, we had to save cash to move. Like, who can save cash to move? And that's only harming patients. The people who we voted to begin with to, let it be legal in the first place. So I think we really have to move it into the federal realm. We need grants, like participate in the loan. Like, what bank can we go to ask for a loan, when they're federally not funded? You got to go to a credit union and do all these crazy things, and then they can take advantage of people, and they can charge you like $30,000 for your bank account because they can, because you're a cannabis company, like dispensaries. That's what they have to pay to have a freaking bank account. It's like 30 grand just to have a bank account. Banks shouldn't they shouldn't make that money, in my opinion.
Yeah, they're not doing the work.
It's no more
they
expensive.
They didn't charge me that for my asphalt company.
There's less risk, and they're just making it harder for those businesses to succeed. So it's anti-productive, and until it's federally legal, that's going to keep happening. In my opinion.
The cannabis industry pays its bills. Straight up,
Indeed. And always has. And always has.
I definitely respect your viewpoint there, and I agree with you in a lot of points of that. It needs to go federally legal. I guess my point being, I'm just disheartened that the medical weight of it all didn't come first. I mean, that was the initial push, and that's what should have swept, coast to coast before the recreational movement did. And I think that, it is a necessary evil, I guess, but I just, I think that it's ultimately gonna be a roadblock or a bump in the road for the medical. It's gonna necessarily kind of slow down. Like I said, the funding for the medical research, and I understand. I'm right there with you. I think it would be so much beneficial to be able to put up a storefront, no worries, no hassles, and that's the way it should be, right? But I'm just afraid that
it can be both. Yeah, I think it can be both.
We need the medical industry.
Yeah, absolutely.
That's our heart. That's where we are at.
That's our concern, is if we open a micro, will we be able to help our patients in the same way? And I don't think we have to grow shittier weed.
We're growing we're not gonna change anything about what we do.
Right. And then those patients will, there just has to be a way to prove yourself medically, I think. And then, I think that will always be one of the things people search out or seek out cannabis for, is the medical, qualities. I think if like alcohol, if there was a medical quality to alcohol, a tiny little bit there is, but you know what I mean? Like, I think that industry would exist, like there's homeopathic medicine that exists because in some ways it works. You know, I don't know. Sometimes it sounds like voodoo, but it exists because it is a need, you know, out there. So I'm putting my faith in the industry that, you know, the the cure for cancer would put that in people's minds. So whether it's federally legal or not, you know, like I think we're all like, who isn't affected by somebody who has cancer or throwing PTSD? And it's like everybody, you know. Um, if we could list the people, if there's one of those books, like I think it's the encyclopedia that has, it's like dedicated to a bunch of names, you know, and that's basically a list of people who died of cancer before anything was able to be done for them. And that's always struck me, you know, even though lots of recreational people buy that book, it's still dedicated to the people
The
that
medical
were lost.
industry.
So I really have faith that someone will fight for it, and we'll definitely be one of those people.
Yeah. I don't think. I mean, the big pharma has tried shutting down medical marijuana. I mean, they have all kinds of petitions. They're doing everything they can to do it, but it's like our attorney general Dana Nessel has straight up told them, nope. Like they're not even hearing it. So Michigan State's not even like flirting with the idea currently of getting rid of medical. There's stuff in the papers about it, but I mean, our attorney general is the one who would have to say that yes, that's okay. And she has flat out said, nope, not happening. So
That's good.
yeah. But it doesn't mean they won't keep trying.
Yeah. It'd be up to us to push that market, I guess, or you know, that industry part, keep the research going, you know.
I agree. That's what it's going to ultimately take is us smaller growers, individual people that have interest in growing, standing together, just moving forward step by step, not letting them kind of step over us, showing up when it's time to vote, you know, keep being aware of what's going on. Uh,
Right.
is our only defense right now, I guess,
Right.
to be honest with you.
I can tell you 80% of the people that I talk to, maybe, I mean, higher than that, honestly, like 90% of the people I talk to who ask me, you know, it's all medical questions. All like, it's no one is really asking me about it to get fucked up on, you know. It's all to make me a better mom or help me relax, you know, after work or, you know, um, and I think it's a good partner medicine to like therapy or inner work. You know, it's not going to solve anything necessarily, but it's going to help. You know, if like your back hurts and you need chiropractic care, it's only going to help that. You have cancer and you need chemo, it's only going to help that. You know what I mean? You have anxiety and depression, you have to do the inner work, but it's going to help with that. I don't know.
So, there's nothing wrong with being nerds. I wanted to say that. I heard you guys call yourselves nerds a couple of times tonight. There's nothing wrong with being a nerd. I am a nerd.
It's a badge of
Many,
honor.
many ways.
Yeah, are you from the time period when it was like nerdy to be a nerd and now it's like cool to be a nerd? We earned that. We laid the path, you know? You're welcome. People. My children. I'm so happy for my kids because they go around wearing like trench coat. I mean, you wore a trench coat when you were a kid, but that doesn't really count. But most people don't go around
dress like normal kids.
They don't. They have like
dress however they
Crocodile
want.
Dundee leather hats and they have long hair and they, you know, think they're ninjas half the time or wizards half the time and they don't care who looks at them. They'll go to the store like that. They don't care. I would never have that confidence, you know. They'll go to the store in a unicorn onesie and they're like, what's up? You know, the most I can do is put on fairy wings at shows and, you know, pretend to be a little fairy sometimes. But They're amazing. I love my kids.
Yeah, they're pretty awesome.
Cannabis did that.
I was asked the other day if I was ready to party with an inner earth gnome, and I was like, "What, are they gonna smoke weed?" He's like, "They got the best of weed." And I said, "Well, they better be ready for me then, because I'm ready to smoke some weed with some gnomes."
Yes. Do you want to know the story behind that magic weed gnome story?
I do.
So
Please.
awesome. So there was like, back when there was no video games or whatever to play, we would just drive around on dirt roads, and that was our like sesh time. So on this back road there was like a windmill, like like the cute little windmills have like a little roundhouse and a very tall roof like that, and the windmills on top, and there was a pond in front, and it's just so magical. And we would smoke and drive by, and we would be like, "There's the magical weed gnome lives in there," and we just go and drive. We have to smoke, and we have to be smoking a joint at that very moment when we were driving by. Like we had to pay our respects to the magic weed gnome. And so when we started growing, it was like, we're the magic weed gnome and the fairy. Like, it's just who we are, So that's, and then we love the Hobbits. We love Lord of the Rings and Hobbits, and of course Dungeons and Dragons. So when we had to come up with our farm name, we were like, "Yo, it has to be the Shire, something about hobbits or whatever." So kind of like the gnomes and the fairies and the hobbits at the Emerald Shire.
Again, man, I have to underline, it's awesome. If you could just see the look at the both of your faces right now as you share that story. You guys are an awesome couple, man.
Thank you. That means a lot to us. We fought hard to be together, so plenty have tried to stop us, but didn't work out.
So again, I guess on a little bit of a funny angle, do you ever use the fireman angle to describe the seriousness of the fire you're bringing?
No,
it's all fire.
No, that's funny though.
No, there's not really a system of fire. Is there like level 1 fire? It's just
we're
all
trained
fire.
not to like talk about it, or like, I don't know. I struggle with, because of the fire department being glass house and like marijuana still having the stigma in society. I mean, like, once everything, the stigma's gone, man. Yeah, dude, we'll have the firehouse fire.
Right. Yeah, we had so many names. We had so many names, so many good names.
Yeah.
We wanted to,
I don't think my fire chief would be too appreciative of
it. It was like Firehouse Subs came out or wherever, and we were like, that was our thing. Oh well.
I can't thank Miss Pearly Baker enough for throwing you guys my way, because it has been an excellent meeting. I love people trying to make it in the cannabis world, especially when they're an amazing couple trying to do it, just survive and live the dream together. That's fucking awesome. So I completely wish you the best in your cannabis journey. I hope it does carry on multi-generational, man. That's a dream of mine, man. I honestly hope I can pass this along, at least the love of it, to my children at some point. And believe it or not, this one may make you smile. I can actually share cannabis with it. I just found out this week I'm going to be a grandfather. So I have 3 daughters, 26, 22, and 18. So I've actually kind of went a little bit full circle and had my
Okay.
kids tell me, yeah, I ain't never gonna smoke no weed, to my oldest, who is the one that is bringing me the granddaughter, who had one point worked for High Times, smoked cannabis with their it's kind of cool as they get older and are old enough to consume cannabis, to
Yeah.
you know have that holiday dinner, sit back, play
Yeah.
some cards, indulge a little bit on some family grown cannabis. It's a nice moment, and I really hope at some point, if that's their thing, you know what I mean. Time
Yeah.
will tell, but
Right.
hopefully it's multi
Yeah.
generational. So.
I still haven't smoked with my dad, even though he smokes, but he's smoked with them a bunch because I just can't do it. I'm like, no,
Yep.
no, you guys can go. I'll just go in this other room and do it by myself. I
Yep.
can't do it, but well, we should probably go.
So a
Like,
couple of things before you guys
yeah,
go.
Yes.
Hopefully Miss Pearly Baker caught this episode, because she was a great lady, a fun episode as well. But before you guys go, there's a few aspects of what goes on here on the channel, and I kind of hinted to you that the time slot nightly is from 11:30 to 4:20.
oh
Last
yeah,
night it went to like 6 or some shit like that. I think we were live
Yeah.
to maybe even closer to 7. So this is how things go around here. There's 3 shows on the channel. There's the spotlight, where I kind of introduce great folks like yourself, underline great folks, to the cannabis community, so they can recognize the people that they see in chat, or the brands that they see in events. If I seen some Magic Weed Fairy edibles, I'm more than likely coming over to that sign and indulging, more so now that I know there's great people in the kitchen producing the cannabis. Why wouldn't you? So, um, thank you for that. But what I do here is, there's this show, the uh the organic takeover, which is once a month. This Wednesday will be an organic takeover. That's with Smiley's Gardens, and that's when he goes like real deep on soil regenerative soil practices, more serious,
yeah,
grow talk. So if you're interested in that, which I think you might be, check that out as
yes,
well.
I follow him. He's
And
great.
then the other aspect of the how I finish out every night is Weed Nerd World. See, nerd there. Uh, so uh, every night that is only open to past guests. So the Zoom link that I sent you tonight is the same link that I use for the Weed Nerd World. So every night, if the guest doesn't take me the full distance, then I fire up the second half of the night with the Weed Nerd World. And we hang out. And some nights we're talking grow, we may be talking psychedelics, we may just be talking life. Sometimes we
Yeah,
just talk life. But if you've subscribed to the channel and you happen to see that We Nerd World's in the title, and you want to smoke, hang out, be part of the conversation, tell us where you're going to be so we can get some of them delicious edibles, some extracts, whatever. I don't care. Fucking just log in, come hang out, say hi, meet some other great folks in the community. That's So that fills out every night. Basically,
okay.
Monday nights is a mandatory Weed Nerd World, so no guests. That's a Weed Nerd World, so you can count on, if you want to just fucking come hang out one Monday night.
Cool.
Monday nights are for that. So
Yeah.
keep that in mind. We would love to see you, make you more a part of what we do here. We love great people, and you guys are great people for sure. So keep that in mind for the future. You know, I you know it's
Thank you.
we would
I
love to
would
have
love
you as
that.
far as
Yeah.
that goes.
I
Fan
The
of
other
like.
thing I'd
fan.
like to get One last thing I'd like to get from you before you go, and it's a silly sound bite. And at some point, I'll use it for in the future for a commercial for this episode. Go back and watch that episode. Like, remember these guys? So basically, what I'm looking for, my version, you can put anything you want before this or after this, as long as you got this in the body of it. Is hey, this is Eagle. I'm on fucking talking shit with Eagle, episode 564. And like I said, you can put whatever you want before, after that, as long as it kind of got that in there, I would be completely grateful. I am ready anytime you guys are.
Did it time you? Oh, let me see. Oop. Let me see.
He's recording it now.
Oh, we're good.
Sorry. Like a screen popped up.
What was the number again?
What are we supposed to say?
What was the number again?
We're talking
564.
564.
Yep, you guys are talking shit with fucking Eagle, episode 564. You put anything before or after, as long as you got that in there.
Okay.
This is Micah and Lynn with Emerald Shire talking shit
with Eagle, episode 564. Magic Weed Gnome and the Magic Weed Fairy, Emerald Shire.
Hell yeah, that was perfect. And again, man, I gotta underline the teamwork there. Unrehearsed, perfectly flowed together. You guys are fucking awesome, man. Thank you guys so much.
Thank you.
You want to shout out your guys' Instagram and stuff one more time before you go so they can look you guys up?
It's at the bottom, it's super long because I'm a spy, but it's Magic Weed Fairy and her gnome, just that little part, and then the Emerald Shire is just our farm name.
You guys better go
and
look
at the
these guys
Instagram
up.
land. Instagram land.
And if you're in Michigan, keep your eyes open at these events, and hopefully you'll come across these guys.
Yes. Say hi.
Do stop.
I have my wings on. I'm hard to.
Yes, help us out because we'll spread it along.
That's right.
Thank you.
With that being said, hopefully you guys will tune in over to the Weed Nerd World. If not, thank you guys for your time and listening to these guys' amazing story. Hopefully you guys know the deal. Brandon Max kindness do save lives. Please do something nice for somebody. With that being said, we are out of here. Thank you guys one last time. It has been an excellent night.